to Hawkins. Hawkins just happy to hang on. Curtis Jordan made the stop. Number 18's about to be history. And the Lombardi Trophy will go to the Los Angeles Raiders. A very young team, but a super team.
It's Unnecessary Roughness. Presented by Meineke, doing car care right. Here's your boy Q.
Bet you didn't think that was going to be the last one of those, right? Very young team, a very super team. As called by Pat Summerall and John Madden, Super Bowl 18 right there. The Raiders get the victory. And that was the last of the 3 Lombardis that they have earned. And, of course, they're trying to open up a new chapter of Raider football and eventually get back to that mountaintop and hoist another Lombardi. And, of course, that'll be some of the conversation we have here today on the Necessary Roughness, Raider Nation Radio 920. Got a big show lined up for you as we do each and every day. We definitely appreciate when you chime in. If you chime in on the text line, phone line, or if you just tune in for a couple minutes, however much time we can get with you throughout the course of your busy day, your busy schedule, you know we appreciate that in a major way. Jason Horowitz, the voice of the Raiders, he'll join us coming up at 2:30. He's normally on the morning tailgate, but since they've been kind of off and on throughout the course of the week, might as well go ahead and catch up with our guy, man. That was our guy that used to rock with us just about each and every week. So he's been with the morning tailgate, been their guest. So we've had Kirk Morrison on each and every week, which has been fantastic. Definitely never going to complain about having Captain Kirk on, but it's great to catch up with Jason Horowitz and kind of want to get his perspective on a championship and being on the call for a championship and what that would mean to him. So he'll join us coming up at 2:30. We'll talk about that at 3:30. Jeff Legwold, ESPN senior writer's got a really good piece out right now just talking about how the Denver Broncos went about their business, how they started to change the narrative and change the way that football teams operate when they decided to move on from Russell Wilson. And remember, they gave him all that $95 million to go away, and everyone said, oh, man, you can't do that. That's too much against the salary cap. And they said, we're going to take this, we're going to eat it right now, and we're going to be all right. And guess what? Be all right is exactly what they've done. They've been very successful since they moved on from Russell Wilson. They brought in Bo Nix. For a couple years, even after they moved on from him, he was still the highest paid player on their roster, even though he wasn't on the team. And so you're starting to see more teams kind of eat those salaries, take them at one time, and just kind of reset the culture of their team. And so we'll talk to Jeff about that and just all the everyday going on around the National Football League. You know, we always like to get a national perspective when it comes to everything NFL as well. And then our guy, David Rumsey, Front Office Sports, he did a really good sit-down with Fernando Mendoza. He's got an article and a YouTube interview out, Fernando Mendoza's edge with the Raiders and access to Tom Brady. We played a little bit of it, just a couple minutes of what Fernando Mendoza had to say earlier this week when he was talking about, some advice and what he's learned from Tom Brady so far in a short amount of time. And we knew then at that point that we wanted to make sure to get David on just to kind of talk about that sit-down with Fernando Mendoza. So he's going to join us coming up at 4 o'clock. Of course, we'll do football right, and we've got another performance that we have to flesh. This is not something guaranteed that we're going to do each and every week, but sometimes when the opportunity presents itself, you have to take it. And I'm not going to lie to you on this one. This was kind of funny. This is going to be a pretty funny one that we're going to flush, but definitely somehow, some way, it's got to be flushed. Remember back in the day when you were a kid and you were growing up and maybe one of your friends, said their first curse word and you heard their mom say, we're going to flush that potty mouth. Well, let's just go ahead and roll with that theme. That potty mouth will be flushed coming up around 4:30 thanks to Moonlight Plumbing. We definitely appreciate them for bringing us a really fun segment that we like to do here. Again, whenever the opportunity presents itself, it's never something that we're going to force onto the radio. It's just going to happen organically. But whenever it does, Ari's got the toilet ready. He's got the flusher ready. He's ready to go. And he's going to flush that bad boy as many times as he has to flush it to get it all the way down. So, again, we shout out to Moonlight Plumbing. We definitely appreciate them for bringing us a fun little segment we do here on Unnecessary Roughness. So that's the guest that we had lined up on the show. Jason Horowitz, the voice of the Silver and Black at 2:30. Jeff Legwold, ESPN senior writer at 3:30. And David Rumsey, Front Office Sports, coming up at 4 o'clock. Throughout the course of the show, we'll hear from you as well at 702-365-9200. Don't forget, without you, there is no show. We always love to hear your contributions, whether you agree with me, whether you agree with Ari, or you're 100% against us. It's okay. This is never going to be a forum where we're going to come down on you for disagreeing with us. We may very much push back and say, oh, no, I think you're crazy. Sometimes Money Mitch comes with that. And I'm like, I don't know, man, you're nuts. that DJU guy is never going to be a good quarterback. I don't care how much you like him or how much you practice saying his name. We'll push back, but it's never bad to disagree with us. Your opinion is always appreciated here, whether it's on the text line or the phone line. As long as you remember that, that's all that matters at the end of the day. So we'll go ahead and jump into the opening drive in a hot minute. But before we do that, of course, we got to hear from our guy E-Rob. Yesterday was important. The rest of the week is going to be important as well. But today is important, and this is why.
Because every day matters. The older you get, the more you start appreciating day in and day out, because you know I can't get that time back. I'm in the business of saying, not if I would have did this or if I would have did that. I'm in the business of now.
I'm in the business of now as well. So right now, let's go ahead and jump into the opening drive.
The opening drive of Unnecessary Roughness on RaiderNation Radio 920 AM is brought to you by Paul Padala. It's not about the injury, it's about the recovery.
Our good friend Just Win Will already started us off on the text line. It's always great to get some kind of feedback off top at the top of the show like he did. He got his Ricky Henderson on and led us off. He said, have a great show, Q. I know you will execute with shocking effort today in voluminous amounts. So, LOL. There you go. There you go. That's voluminous amounts of information. I love that. I promise you, I know some people think that I'm joking, but I promise you, every time I see Hondo, that's one of the first things I say to him, voluminous. And I mean, I literally, every time I give him a bad time, I always go back, and every time I see him, I talk about it. We sit there in the media room and joke about it, how much back and forth I have with him. But sometimes he'll hit you with a something, some kind of word or some kind of phrase like that, voluminous, and it'll catch my attention, trust and believe. And I sit behind him, so it's bad because I sit behind him in the media room. So sometimes when he's asking a question, whether it's to coach or to player, and he hits you with one of those words you're not expecting, all of a sudden I perk up a little bit, and I think Will Kiss from the Raiders, the PR, I think he probably sees me more times than not perk up. Hell, Coach probably sees me because I'm literally sitting behind him, so I'm sure that he probably sees over his head and sees me like perk up like, whoa, didn't expect that one to come there. But, hey, man, Hondo's always good for a drop or two, so we'll go ahead and take it, and we'll roll with it. So Just Win Will, thanks so much for starting us off with that text. And, yes, we're going to definitely we're going to execute with shocking effort like Clint Kubiak said he wants the Raiders to do this year. He wants them to ride for the brand and play with shocking effort. I just love the fact that the head coach said that. I just think that that's really cool. I honestly, I wish more people would actually stop and pause and think about that. As Clint Kubiak, the head coach, coming in as a first-time head coach to a new organization, but he's been around the division and knows what the Raiders are all about. So for him to come in, and as he told us last week at the end of mandatory minicamp when he met with us on that Thursday, you know, he said something that's very important to him and the organization is he's teaching the young guys the history of this team. He could have come into this organization and got the head coaching job and said, yeah, man, you know what, learning about the team and the history of the team and, you know, riding for the brand. Yeah, that ain't worked for this team. So, yeah, it don't matter. We're just going to go out there, coach up football, teach football. We're going to put our best, you know, product on the field and see what happens. But instead, he has leaned into the history of the Raiders. He has leaned into what it means to be a Raider. He mentioned he wants these players to know the greats that are walking around the building. That's Mike Haynes. Who's Mike Haynes, right? They don't want. He doesn't want to have those kind of situations when someone sees Mike or when someone sees, you know, a great player from back in the day, a Greg Townsend. Wait, who's that? Right? Just they want to be able to recognize and know what they mean to the history of the organization. So I always thought that was pretty special that Clint Kubiak definitely leaned into that immediately when he arrived as the Raiders head coach. And when he tells the players, I want you to ride for the brand and play with shocking effort. You know, all I could think of, and as I'm sitting here in Studio Q and I got the Tupac plaque behind me, the platinum plaque, all I could think is ambitions as a rider, right? That's all I could think of. Every time I see that, ride for the brand, all I could think of is, I can't deny it, I'm a straight rider, you don't want with me, right? That's all I could think of. That's all I could think of. And I don't know, maybe that's why I lean into it a little bit more because it takes me back to that moment. But I think that's a special feature and a special quality that the Raiders' new head coach has and is trying to put on his team and educate his team about the brand that is the silver and black. And, of course, that don't mean anything. Just because I can sit there and, you know, vibe Tupac with Clint Kubiak don't mean they're going to go win 10, 12 games, right? That don't mean nothing. It sounds good. It looks good. Hell, if that was the case, Antonio Pierce would have gone 17-0, right? Because you want to talk about a dude who was trying to be a rider for real. And I had no problem with AP. Anyone who knows and listens to this show knows I was an AP guy. I believed he was going to be the guy to get things turned around. It just didn't work out. And sometimes that's how it goes. But I have no doubt in my mind that he had the right intentions. I had no doubt in my mind that he wanted this team to get turned around. He wanted this program to get turned around. He thought he was going in the right direction. It just didn't work out. So, I mean, again, we can get excited. We can get fired up. Like I said, I could bring Pocket to the conversation 10 minutes into the show, and, it's not gonna make the team go win games. But I just thought it was a kind of cool little nugget to bring to the table today here, Unnecessary Roughness, Raider Nation Radio 920. Now, it's been a few days now since the New York Knicks won their championship, and I know that JT's been talking about riding. He's been riding hard for the Knicks. That's a Knicks fan through and through, right? I mean, that's his childhood team growing up. I know him and his father shared a lot of great Knicks memories, so I know he's fired up and pumped up about them winning their first championship, hoisting the Larry O for the first time in 53 years. And so I kind of sat back and sat on this for a couple days because I figured that he'd probably bring it to the table, but I think he was too caught up in the orange and blue skies, and he was too caught up in just the celebration of the New York Knicks. So I kind of wanted to bring it into the conversation with the Raiders. And you're thinking, what? Huh? How are you going to do that? Well, it's been 43 seasons. As you heard coming in, the call of Super Bowl 18. That was the last time the Raiders won the Super Bowl. Now we're going into Super Bowl 61. In L.A., which, by the way, is ESPN Super Bowl, and that should be a lot of fun, and hopefully that we can take that knowledge and grow and build off it, and hopefully us here at Raider Nation Radio 920 could even lean into the Super Bowl when we're there in L.A. for Super Bowl 61. Hopefully we can even get more out of it and make our coverage even bigger and better than it's been each and every year that we've been there for Super Bowls and on Radio Row, but that's a side conversation. So it's been 43 seasons since the last time the Raiders hoisted the Lombardi. And I'm not saying they're going to hoist it this year. I'm not going to say they're hoisting it next year, right? I'm hoping sooner rather than later Raider Nation is rewarded with that opportunity and that excitement and that energy, the same energy that everyone in New York who's a Knicks fan, right? Real fans or fake fans, because there's plenty of the bandwagoners too, right? Trust and believe. All those fans jumping up and down on taxi cabs and buses and doing all kind of dumb right? Those aren't all Knicks fans. Those are a lot of that just want to be a part of something. They ain't got nothing going on. They want to be a part of something. But I know Raider Nation is ride or die and real, true blue through and through, right? There's no doubt about that. So I want to get into the conversation about the fact that it's been 43 seasons since the Raiders won Super Bowl 18. They're headed to Super Bowl 61 this upcoming year. If they finally return to the Promised Land, if and when they finally return to the Promised Land, much like the Knicks did after 53 years, one time in my whole lifetime the Knicks have hoisted a championship. I'll be 50 this year. I had never seen a Knicks victory until this year. I thought that was a myth, like Bigfoot. Oh, yeah, they won a championship back in the day. Nah, they didn't. Nah, they didn't. Like, I knew they did, but I just had never seen it. So now I've seen it. So I want to ask you the question straight up, Raider Nation. What would it mean to you? What would it mean to your family? What would it mean to see Mark Davis and the Raiders back where they need to be, back where this organization thrived for so long, as champions, hoisting the Lombardi, looking over the shoulders saying, just win, baby, and being able to celebrate with all those players? What would it mean to you? What would it mean to your family if, in fact, you can get that same feeling that Knicks fans have? And, look, I got, a lot of friends that are Knicks fans / Raider fans, like my guy Raider Al in Georgia. I can't tell you how many texts he sent me as the Knicks got closer and closer and closer to winning a championship, and he kept saying, Q, I never thought I was going to see this in my lifetime, dog. I never thought I was going to see this. I never thought I was going to be able to celebrate this again, right? And so I understand, and that kind of started getting the mind rolling and started getting the wheels turning in my head of how I could turn this into a Raiders conversation. Because I guarantee, and look, I'll be honest with you. Like I said, I'm turning 50 this year. 43 seasons. You do the math. I was a youngster last time they won. I'll be the first to tell you I wasn't really invested in what the Raiders were doing at 7 years old. Sorry, forgive me. But I really wasn't that guy that was cutting for the Raiders. I wasn't standing on the street corner with my bike and my baseball card and my spokes and cutting for the Raiders at that time. I just wasn't. Right? I was trying to figure out how not to get my toes caught up in the spikes. Right? Because my dumb self wasn't wearing no damn shoes. Or whatever the case may be. I still had to be in when the street light came on. So I wasn't 100% invested. And I know there's some that are. I've been checked on that already before. People called in. It was like, oh, you were this, you were that. I was doing all kind of things at that age. All right, well, hey, man, teach their own, right? You get down how you live. I wasn't that guy. So some have never really seen a real true Raider championship, but they're going off the fact that their pops or their mom or their grandfather or their families have said, hey, man, this is what we do in this house. Like Lil Q, I can tell you that. He just turned 23. He ain't never sniffed a Raiders championship. And he was a little baby when they got to the Super Bowl. And I trust and believe, I don't need to remind him about that. I'm not bringing that to the table and be like, hey, man, this was really fun getting there. But once they got there, it went all bad. Like, I'm not gonna bring that up. That's not any fun. And all he's seen his whole life since he's really been invested in sports, again, at 23 years old, is he's seen a lot of losing. Right? He was at the Coliseum in 2016 when Derek Carr broke his ankle. That was the season that he thought, hey, man, this is it. Man, we're gonna be that team. He was also young enough and naive enough to wonder, hey, the Raiders just won this game. How come everyone's so quiet? And Kimani, my older son, said, because Derek Carr just broke his ankle, season's over. He was so angry. He was so angry, and he never got to see any winning. Never got to see it. You know, I mean, he was born in 99. He saw them go to the Super Bowl and get, mollywopped, but he never saw him get no closer. And you want to talk about ride for the brand, Kimani would tell you where to go and how to get there if you weren't a Raider fan. I don't know where he got that from. Maybe his daddy. I got it from watching you, Dad. I mean, that's the truth, though. But he wasn't playing around, right? For me, to see the Raiders, especially where I'm at in the position I'm in now, and the fact that we do this show on the daily, the fact that I have a podcast all the time, the fact that people call me from all over the country, and this is not a brag, this is just what happens, to talk Raiders. They have me on their shows. To me, the Raiders winning the championship and hoisting a Lombardi like we just saw the Knicks hoist a Larry O would mean confirmation. That would be confirmation for me. That would be confirmation for all my years of they're going to get it. They're going to figure it out. All the years I told people it's going to get turned around. It's going to get turned around. Things are going to be – all the time I told Lil Q, hey, man, this is a really good organization. They've got a history of winning. Commitment to excellence means something. Just win, baby, means something. Yes, they've fallen on hard times. Yes, it sucks, but they're going to get there because this organization is more proud than the product that you've been seeing. So just trust me. And it's hard. It's hard to say trust somebody and then they keep riding. But for everybody that I told and preached the gospel of the Raiders to, it'll be for me, it'll be in confirmation. It'll mean that I wasn't looking through silver and black glasses, even though, I mean, you have to have some kind of faith and some kind of, confidence in an organization. You have to be a little naive at times to believe that things are going to get turned around after as long as it's been. And that's okay. I don't mind being that guy. But like I said, if and when, and hopefully it's sooner rather than later, they hoist that Lombardi, maybe it'll be as soon as 2028, 2029 when the Super Bowl comes back to Vegas. That'd be fantastic. See Mark Davis standing up there by the torch there on the Coors Light landing with the Lombardi in his hand and holding it up high, and then lighting the Al Davis torch at the same time with it. Like, that would just be confirmation. That would just mean that everyone that's stuck with this brand, stuck with this team, stuck with this product, had faith, had blind faith at times, had trust that they were heading in the right direction. It didn't go for nothing. It's kind of like trying to come up in an industry that's difficult, like this one, for example, for radio. I can't tell you how many people told me that, hey, man, this has been fun, but the dream's probably over. The dream's probably over. You probably need to go and find a real job, and put that in air quotes. You probably need to find a real job. And I don't blame people for that, because a lot of times our loved ones that we see are the people that we care about, and we see them struggling and them not getting where they want and see them frustrated. You're like, man, you just got to do something else. This ain't going to cut it. This ain't that, and we try to make it sound better to them so it doesn't sound like we're being harsh, but at the same time, it's like, man, I'm seeing you work your ass off and you're not getting the results that you want. And at some point, it might not come. And I can tell you, I was told that 1,000 times. Hey, man, this thing might just be over. You might just need to go do something else. And I kept saying, I'm almost there. I'm almost there. Even when I didn't believe it myself. I'm almost there. I'm almost there. And I'm still not where I want to be. I can tell you that right now. I'm in a lot better position. I think I made a much better name for myself. I think I have the kind of respect where I could call someone and get in the door if I need to. If Lotus were to fire me tomorrow, right, I think I could find a way to get a job and still stay in the industry. But, man, there's been times where it's been tough. I can promise you this, and you could ask him when he comes on the show tomorrow. There was a time I sat in my garage in Central Texas, and I was on the phone with JT. We talked for about 30 minutes. I said, man, this is what I'm trying to do. He's asked me, what's your plan? This is what I'm trying to do. This is what I'm trying to do. He didn't have to take that call. But for some reason, he was like, well, this guy, he sounds like he's got something. sounds like he's got some kind of confidence in himself. I sat there for 30 minutes and talked to him on the phone. I was like, all right, cool. I'm going to keep trucking, man. I'm going to keep pushing. So sometimes you have to operate with blind faith, right? In everything that we do. Sometimes you just have to trust yourself or trust whoever it is that you're riding with. You're riding for the brand. You're playing with shocking effort for, right? Whoever that is, sometimes you just have to believe it's going to work when others don't believe you, and that's okay. That's what this situation is right now with everyone who calls in on the daily, everyone who tunes in on the daily, everyone who texts in on the daily, tweets at us, whatever the case may be. It's like we all believe it's going to happen. We all believe it's going to happen. We think this thing's going to get turned around. Like I 100% 10 toes down believe in this new staff led by John Spytek and company. I really do, truly believe in that. I've got friends that aren't even Raider fans that hit me up and was like, man, I like the moves. I like the people that are in charge. I think they got something. It's going to take a while. It's not going to be overnight. So don't get too high. Don't get high on your own supply, right? That's one of the 10 crack commandments. Don't get high on your own supply. But it's headed in the right direction, right? Just I see what you guys are doing. I've had friends of other teams that are like, man, I wish my team was doing what your team is doing. And trust and believe, I haven't heard that in a long time. I haven't heard that in many, many moons. So to hear that, it almost feels like it's like I say, confirmation, right? So that to me, if the Raiders, if and when they get a Lombardi, because I do believe that they're going to get back where they need to be, they'll be in the winner's circle at some point. They will be similar to the Knicks, first time in 53 years, and have people super excited and fired up like Knicks fans are one day. I think the Raiders are going to have that same opportunity. I'm hoping it don't take 53. It's already at 43. I'm hoping it don't get out the fours, right? I hope that happens sooner rather than later. But, of course, that's up to them. That's not up to me. That's not up to Ari. It's not up to you. That's up to them to go out there and make it happen. But it seems like the right people are in place. So let me know your thoughts. 702-365-9200. Like I said, we got Jason Horowitz coming up at 2:30. I want to get his thoughts on what it'd be like to call a championship game for. I mean, he's the voice of the silver and black. What would it mean to him to be on the call? Like I heard a great call from the 880 New York people that are broadcasting the local broadcast for the Knicks. And I know Meineke McNutt from ESPN is part of that. She does the color commentary, and she's fantastic, by the way. When the clock was going down 3, 2, 1, she literally was in tears. She was in tears because that was something she didn't think was ever going to happen. And that might be you. The clock might be running down 3, 2, 1, and you might break out in tears, and that's okay. I guarantee you one thing, there's going to be a lot of babies in New York named Jalen. Right? There's going to be a lot of babies in New York named Jalen. All of a sudden, you're going to see 9, 10 months from now, what's that baby's name? Oh, Jalen. Who's that? OG. Right? There's going to be, because that's what always happens. Like, how many Kobe's are running around here now? Remember back in the day, Kobe wasn't some popular name. Now everyone's name is Kobe.
Couple in the NFL, at least one.
Yeah,
right?
Of course. Kobe Bryant. Literally, Kobe Bryant went to Cincinnati. He was a DB. He played across from Sauce Gardner. Kobe Bryant.
Amazing.
How many Jordans are there? How many Jordan names are out there? Plenty. Right? We hear the stories all the time. So 702-365-9200. Let us know your thoughts. If and when the Raiders finally return to the promised land and hoist that Lombardi trophy like the Knicks did after 53 years, what would it mean to you? What would it mean to your family? What would that moment be like for you? How would you kind of categorize that and summarize that? Let us know that on the text line or the phone line, 702-365-9200. Sean said, Q, there are times where I'm like Jesus himself may return before the Raiders win the chip. My wife always jokes with me that the Raiders will be a minute away from winning it all, and that's when he's coming back. LOL, all my hard work as a depressed fan every year will finally pay it off. God bless and go Raiders. That is awesome. Your wife is jokes. She's got comedy, man. She's got comedy jokes like that is fantastic. She said the Raiders will be a minute away from winning it all, and Jesus will return, and it'll be all over. That's hilarious. That is funny. That, man, good. Hey, just dap your wife up for me. That was fantastic. That was great. That's the kind of feedback I want to hear, man. 702-365-9200. What would it be like to be on the call to win a championship like Jason Horowitz would have the opportunity to do, as he's the voice of the Silver and Black? We'll ask him that next here on RaiderNation Radio 920.
That was the opening drive of Unnecessary Roughness on Raider Nation Radio 920 AM. Brought to you by Paul Padala. It's not about the injury. It's about the recovery.
They run it again with Genty, patient behind the line. Bounces out to the left at the 40. Into the secondary 30. Nobody's going to catch him. Down the middle of the field, Genty at the 5. Touchdown, Raiders. Deuces, goodbye for the second time in the ballgame. This one from 51 yards. And with 5:24 to go, the Raiders on the back of the 6th overall pick. Not done yet.
Now back to Unnecessary Roughness with your boy Q. Presented by Meineke, doing car care right.
Jason Horowitz right there on the call. Ashton Genty, 51 yards to the house versus Houston Texans. He had himself a game against the Texans. And, you know, the wild thing is the Texans have a really good defense, and Ashton Genty went off, and the Raiders played them really close. And even in a bad season, to me, I thought, wow, okay, maybe they do have a little something that they'll start, you know, catching a little bit of fire, I should say, towards the end of the season, maybe pick up a couple dubs. Obviously, that didn't happen until the very last game of the season. But, man, they did play that Houston Texans team really tough, and Ashton Genty showed you just a glimpse of what he can do in that game. It is Unnecessary Roughness here on RaiderNation Radio 920. Jason Horowitz now joins us on the phone lines. And, Jason, thanks so much for your time. I appreciate you. I don't think I've ever asked you this, man. When you sit back and you're waiting for me to bring you on and you hear a call like that, man, what goes through your head?
Did my voice crack and did I mess it up? Usually. No, I it brings you back to the moment. And many times right from the get-go, I know what it is just based off of like the intensity and all of that stuff. But, no, I'm like everybody else. Like, when players go back, they watch film, they see what went well, what didn't. And it's the same thing. I get excited for all of it. We're in summer mode, and I'm like the fans. I'm hopeful for all the great calls we might have this year, and hopeful for what hopefully will be great finishes this year. And so it's the same thing like anybody else, except, sometimes you like hearing your voice and sometimes you don't.
There's no doubt about that. I feel that way all the time. But, no, that was a fantastic call there on Genty's run right there and his catch that he had to take it to the house as well. What have you seen from him? It's only been one season, obviously, and he didn't have a lot of help. But just what you saw and what you were able to call throughout the course of the year for Genty, what was kind of your vantage point?
I thought he was we all know how diligent of a worker he is. I thought he stayed within what they asked him to do. They threw him the ball a ton, which some people were questioning how that would go coming out of college. And obviously he's got good hands. I'm sure there are a few of those that he'd like to have back. But, I thought the patience was hit or miss throughout the year. And you could understand why there would be some frustration and why he wasn't as patient. But his durability was something that I think we should all commend, right? I mean, he didn't miss a game. He took hit after hit. He was constantly hit in the backfield. He got all those touches. He played, 80% of the snaps last year. I mean, that's a lot for a rookie. And he didn't hit the rookie wall. That's the other thing. A lot of rookies come end of October, mid-November, they hit that rookie wall, and he did not. He had his biggest game of the year in December, right before Christmas. So I thought there's a lot to build on. The offensive line, having Tyler Linderbaum, is a lot to build on. And I think that's all going to be great. And the other thing, Mike Washington's a lot to build on. Watching him last week at mandatory minicamp, man, that guy is big and fast. He is blazing fast. And at 6'1", 225 or whatever he's going to play at, that's a lot for a secondary or a defense to go. So you get those two together now, young, strong, fast running backs, and there's a lot to hope for.
Yeah, exactly, and that's what it is. I think you said it, the four-letter word, hope, right? And that's really what we've been basing the conversation on today. Again, Jason Horowitz is with us here on RaiderNation Radio 920. I mean, every year we hope that this is going to be the year that they get things turned around. They have what looks like the right pieces in place, but, of course, we won't know until we actually see it. And, Clint Kubiak referred to that. He said, it looks good right now. We'll know a lot more once the pads come on and they have those 11 practices before the first preseason game. What is it that you're looking forward to seeing and learning once those pads come on at the end of July?
So two things that you just said that clicked thoughts. Number one, 11 practices. It is amazing how few they have, you know, compared to, not back in my day or anything like that type of thing. But it is amazing. Now, part of it is that they're together so much during the year, and you have the OTAs and you have the mini camps. And so, like, it's a lot throughout the course of the year, so it's all different, and I get that. But it is amazing that they only have 11 practices before their first preseason game. So that was the first thing. Second thing is, we're in the middle of the World Cup, and I was talking to Ari. We've got England, Croatia on in the background, and I'm reminded of my favorite show, Ted Lasso. And I believe it's the end of the first season where you learn that it's the hope that kills you, is I believe the motto of the folks around England. So
nice.
Maybe we should have something other than hope, Q. Maybe we need a new word. What's the other word we could come up with? It could still be 4 letters, but can we come up with a different one?
I mean, look, it's not 4 letters, but, optimism, I think that's a word that we could apply. I think, that'll
work.
Yeah, that's one. I
It's
think
the
that there's
fury. It's the fury that builds.
Right. Exactly. It's funny. I started the whole show, Jason, talking about the fact that the Knicks won for the first time in my lifetime, first time in 53 years they get that. So I asked Raider Nation, what would it mean for them to be able to see Mark Davis hoist that Lombardi? I mean, it's been 43 seasons in between the last time they won. For you, being on the call, what would it be like for you to have that local call of a Super Bowl and a championship?
It's interesting you say that because I, like you, saw that from, the Associated Press and other statistics who put that out there. The longest droughts of all the 4 major sports that go between that. The Cubs had 108 years and the White Sox had 88 years and the Red Sox. But there aren't a lot of franchises who go 50 years in between titles. And the Raiders, now no one's expecting the Raiders to win a Super Bowl here in 2026, Super Bowl 61. But if they did, that's you said 43 years.
Right.
If could they win it in 3 years, 5 years? Now you're talking about 46 years, 48 years, whatever it is in between. I mean, that's my entire lifetime, Q.
Right.
where the Raiders didn't win a Super Bowl. Almost. So,
right.
So it would mean so Look, I wasn't a Raiders fan as a kid. We've talked about that before. Mm-hmm. It would mean so much, though, to everyone who I am associated with within the organization, and seeing that, meeting the fans who I've met the last 5 years who tell me about watching it with their dads and moms, and now they are doing it with their sons and daughters, and all of those things, and understanding what it's been like for me as a kid to watch championships, and being here in New Jersey, seeing all the people who had 53 years of pent-up sadness. And the Knicks are a good comparison, Q, because the Knicks have had awful seasons. Yeah. They had 94 where they were close, and they had 99 where they, I think, were an 8 seed when Larry Johnson and Latrell Sprewell lost to. But, there hasn't been a lot in between.
No.
And for the Raiders, they were close in 2002. You get to a Super Bowl. But it's not like there's been a whole lot in between the 40-plus years of winning the last Super Bowl and now. There's been 22 years of mostly losing seasons with a couple of playoff appearances. So I think the Knicks and the Raiders are great comparisons. They are franchises that are so important to the leagues in which they play, but they have had so many bad seasons in the last 2-3 decades along the way. And so to get there, to have the last couple of years that the Knicks have had, if the Raiders can have a couple of playoff seasons where they get closer and then win the whole thing, I mean, that would be amazing. And it would feel all of that disappointment, that sadness, that anger coming out in this jubilation. And I think you'd have a big comparison to it.
Yeah, I said it would be confirmation for me, right? Because I'm the guy that told Little Q that this organization is going to get things turned around. They're going to be that, and he's 23 and he hasn't seen it, right? Yeah. And so there's a lot of people that have come up and they just trust their dads or they trust their grandfathers, and all right, well, this is what we do in this household, so we're going to ride with them. But they haven't seen the reality, and that check hasn't cashed. Where okay, this is what Pops was talking about. So I think it'd be confirmation. How do you think your tag team partner Kirk Morrison, who played for the organization, grew up in Oakland. I saw Meineke McNutt in tears when the Knicks sealed the deal in that championship. How do you think Kirk Morrison would react?
Oh, my God. Kirk is still as he should be, and as was Lincoln Kennedy before that. I mean, it is all silver and black, right?
Yep.
Man grew up rooting for the team. He tells me all the time about how he snuck into the Oakland Coliseum to see that AFC Championship game. Now, he says snuck. He paid $40. But how he got in there, right? He flew up from San Diego to Oakland for that 2002 AFC Championship game and was so happy. And, his dad's been a season ticket holder, the whole thing. And that's what I don't have in terms of my growing up fandom in this, and he does, and it's such a nice balance to have. Mm-hmm. It means so much to him. I know how much it meant to him last summer when our bosses called him and said, "Hey, you're the guy we'd like to, to have in the booth moving forward," and how much it meant to him to have that chance that he left the Rams to come to the organization that he loved so much. And I know how hard it was for him to watch a 3-14. I mean, it was for me, and I can only imagine how much it is for him because he wore the jersey for 5 years and loved it for all the years before that. So it would mean a lot. And now, I'm glad that we're part of this reset that everyone believes is. It's not just the Fernando Mendoza belief, right? It's the belief in the free agents that were brought in who can really start to change this thing around and make it something from what feels like from the ground up that you're going to be like, this is a different Raiders team than we've seen for the last 20 years.
I agree 100%. And Jason Horowitz is with us here on RaiderNation Radio 920 Unnecessary Roughness. And, I was saying at the beginning of the show that, what Clint Kubiak told the players, ride for the brand and play with shocking effort. I thought that was cool that, he was leaning into who the Raiders are and wants all the young players in the organization to understand their history so they can go and build forward on what this organization has always stood for. Yeah, and there's people in the building who know that, right? Mike McCoy coached against the Raiders as the head coach with the Chargers, spent some time with the Broncos, and obviously Clint Kubiak's staff, winning a Super Bowl with the Broncos. Like, he knows what it's all about. Yep. I think that's the thing. So Clint Kubiak's a couple years younger than me. Rob Leonard's a couple years. Andrew Jones, they're a couple years younger than I am. And I, as a 42-year-old, know what the brand meant and know what the brand is supposed to mean. Yeah. These are men in their late 30s, early 40s who the same thing, know what the brand was, but it's not. The brand is still that all the things that everyone thinks it is. The Raiders are still that. The product has not been. And I think everyone gets that. The brand is still really important. And if the product ever matches the brand, man, is there going to be so much to talk about. But it's got to get there because for the last 20 years, with the take of 2 seasons, it hasn't been close, Q. No, not at all. 2016 and 2021, and really 2016 was the season that we all believe, what if, right? What if Derek Carr never gets hurt? I remember when me and you first met, and I believe that was when Devontae was traded for, and you said, has there been any – how much hype has there been around this team? Has there ever been more hype? And I said, only going into 2017, coming off that Derek Carr injury, everyone believed they just got Marshawn Lynch, and, man, this team was going to take off, and obviously that didn't happen. Well, the season fell apart right off the get-go. I think it was in Washington, in 2017. It was, 2 or 3 weeks into the year. So, look, there in my 4 years, there was all that buildup for week. It was, Josh McDaniels. I don't know that he was but you have Derek Carr, the playoff the year before. You trade for Devontae Adams. He scores 14 touchdowns. Right. He led the NFL. Josh Jacobs it was not the offense. That was not the problem. It was consistency, but they scored points. The defense was the problem. And ever since then, it has been the offense that has been a major problem. And now, can they turn it around? The defense, I think, is going to be fine. I really do. I think Rob Leonard's going to have a good defense. Now, are they going to go from somewhere mid-20s to 10, 5? No, maybe. Right. But can they go from mid-20s, late 20s to middle of the pack, to upper part of the middle of the pack? I believe so. And if you do that, if the offense can go from bottom of the NFL the last 2 years running the football till middle of the NFL, I think you got a really competitive team, and we'll see what that looks like. There's no doubt. There's no doubt about that. Jason Horowitz with us here, RaiderNation Radio 920. Unnecessary Roughness. We'll close out with this. Saw that you were a part of Media Day. The Raiders had that over at the facility. It's grown bigger and bigger each and every year. What did you think about the presentation and just how they had this thing play out this year?
Well, it's the second year they've been doing the live show for a while, but it's the second year that they've had fans there, which I think is really cool. Not just because I got to run out of the tunnel and high five, but the players get that, right? And look, the Raiders, our head of PR, Will Kiss, has been around for a really long time. He's one of the best in the business, and I can say that because not just because I get the chance to work with him and talk with him, and he's become a friend, but we do this for a living, and we as announcers talk with and deal with other PR staffs, and there are a lot of really good ones around the league. And Will is top notch. He really is. And one of the things that they've done with the Raiders for a long time is players, they don't want to do these over multiple days. Players want to do this, and they have it down to a science. You're going to come out. You're going to take these pictures. You're going to take these pictures. You're going to do this show, and they got their time down to a science. And Will and the staff really helped create that along the league that a lot of franchises have emulated and followed. And talking to some of the free agents, I talked to Kobe Dean, Kirk and I, Morris, and talked to Quiddy Fay. Some of the others, like, how do the Eagles do it? How do the Colts do it? And it ain't like this. It's a little bit different, and that's a good thing. That speaks volumes to how the Raiders treat their players, what they've got in that facility, what they're going to do moving forward, and all those things. So it's a lot of fun to be part of. There's no pressure on media day, right? Everyone's won the media. The Raiders are awesome in June and July, as Mark Davis always likes to say. And it reminded me during practice last week, we are always top-notch in July and June. What's that going to look like in September?
He told me the same thing at the Raiders, the Silver and Black Gala. He told me the same thing. We won the offseason before.
Yeah.
It's time to win the regular season, right?
What did you bid on at the Gala? Did you win anything?
No, I didn't win anything this year. I forgot what I was trying to bid on, but it was the last second. I was trying to pull an old eBay hustle where you bid on it at the last second, and then you and then you win it. But it made me log in, and by the time I got logged in, the whole bid was over. Last year, I got a Charles Woodson autographed jersey, though. I got that one last year.
Nice. Are you part of the Silver and Black softball next week? Are you part of that? Because I saw Chris Morrison's on Brock Bowers' team.
I know. I saw that. I've been trying to be a part of that whole presentation, and I keep getting shut out. But no, I'm on vacation next week, so I'll be in Hawaii.
Oh, that's right. I'll
let them softball it up while I'm in Hawaii living it up.
I can't believe Brock Bowers chose the 240-pound linebacker over the 160-pound announcer. Can't believe it.
Exactly. Me either. Yeah, a professional athlete and a professional radio guy, and he chose him. But okay, that's how.
Okay. I'm nursing a sore Achilles anyway, so he can have him.
There you go. Well, that's what's up, man. Great stuff as always. What's my nephew Noah up to these days? What's going on?
He's currently chowing down on some goldfish, cheering for Harry Kane and Team England.
Nice.
He's cheered for like 7 different teams over the last 5 days. He's wearing a Ronaldo Portugal thing that Grandma and Grandpa brought him back from a trip a couple years ago. He's talking about Messi. He loves Holland, so he's rooting for Norway. Somewhere in there is USA, and I got him excited about Cape Verde because they pulled even with Spain, even though most people couldn't point out Cape Verde in a map. So, which is awesome that we got a chance to point out, hey, tiny island off the coast of Africa. All right, so we're learning all these geography facts. So the World Cup has been great.
Nice. Hey, whatever works, man. You're teaching him the right way, man. He's a sports fan, and we love it. And that's my guy, so give him a high five when you hang up with me. But great stuff as always, man. It was great seeing you last week. I always appreciate you.
You're the best, Uncle Q. See you, buddy.
All right, see you, my man. Jason Horowitz right there, the voice of the Silver and Black. And, his son Noah's my guy, man. We were out there last year at training camp sharing a little dance move. So that's my guy. We were getting down to some Naughty by Nature. So, hey, anyone who's getting down to Naughty by Nature at his age is a friend of mine. So that's my nephew Noah there. Jason, thanks so much for his time. We do appreciate that. We want to hear from you as we close out hour number 1 of the show, 702-365-9200. It's been 43 seasons since the Raiders won Super Bowl 18. They're going on Super Bowl 61. If and when they finally return to the promised land, much like the Knicks after 53 seasons, what would it mean to you? What would it mean to your family? We hear from you next. It's RaiderNation Radio 920.
Oh, it's real, and very deep guy. I mean, extremely intelligent, can talk about a lot of different things, but committed to be great. Tom Brady was his idol, and I've never been around a guy in 45 years that prepared like he did. He covered every base and then some. I learned from him. The great ones, you learn from the great ones.
You're listening to Unnecessary Roughness with your boy Q. Brought to you by Meineke, doing car care right.
Indiana head coach Coach Cignetti right there, part of the Rich Eisen show, talking about Mendoza being the real deal. You'll actually hear a little bit more of that, full extended version of that coming up in a few minutes as we do football right here on Unnecessary Roughness, RaiderNation Radio 920. But we do want to hear from you at 702-365-9200. That's the text line and the phone line. It's been 43 seasons since the Raiders won Super Bowl 18. They're going on Super Bowl 61 this upcoming year. It'll be in L.A. It's ESPN Super Bowl. Excited about that. If and when the Raiders finally return to the promised land, what will it mean to you and your family? We saw what happened. We see how Knicks fans have reacted after 53 seasons. First time in my lifetime I've ever seen a Knicks championship. Much to the NBA. That brand is so big for the NBA. And there's only a couple times in the last handful of years, 20-plus years, that they've actually had a chance to compete and look like a team that could win a Larry O, right? I mean, they got to the finals for the first time since 99. And they obviously lost it in 99, but they win it this time. And so you see the excitement and the energy. And so it made me think of, okay, well, Raider Nation, what would you feel like if that was February? Matter of fact, this year it'll be Valentine's Day. If on Valentine's Day your favorite team is giving you the best Valentine's Day gift ever by hoisting the Lombardi, how would you feel about that? What would it mean to you? What would it mean to your family? 702-365-9200. We got a really good text from Barry in Baltimore. He said, Raiders win the Super Bowl would mean a lot to me and my son. Just to see my son, who's 23 also and has been a fan his whole life, and he's a ride or die, and how happy he would be, and the look on his face would mean so much to me because I never made him be a Raider fan. He just knew how much of a fan I was and my love for the Raiders, and he chose to ride with his dad in the Raiders, win, lose, or tie. And it's been hard for him as a kid and his friends being Ravens fans. So that would mean a lot to me. I'm hoping I can see that one day. It's funny. You didn't make your son be a Raider fan. It was non-negotiable in my house, right? You had two options. You were a Raider fan or you had to get out. You better find some other daddy, right? I was young at the time, too. I was like, I can always try my luck again. I can always create another one, right? But no, I kid. Someone's like taking it seriously. I kid. But really good text, Barry. I do appreciate that. Your calls and texts will kick off hour number 2. We'll do that next here on RaiderNation Radio 920.
Now, I'm not letting people off the hook, man. They spend all the spring talking about Fernando Mendoza and his big brain, and you mean to tell me with a 4-month head start he can't beat out Kirk Cousins despite being a better athlete and with a stronger arm? Let that man go out there and start, man. I think the Raiders could win 7 or 8 games because that team looks a lot better than the team that we saw last season.
Right now, we're doing football right on Unnecessary Roughness. Brought to you by Meineke, doing car care right.
That was my guy, Emery Hunt, right there from CBS Sports, talking about Fernando Mendoza. He's been on this fine show that we call Unnecessary Roughness here on RaiderNation Radio 920, talking about Fernando Mendoza. He's been very adamant that he needs to start day one. I know that's a subject that is a lot of back and forth debate, and that's okay. There's nothing wrong with that. We know who's in that room, Kirk Cousins, Fernando Mendoza, and also Aiden O'Connell. We had that discussion earlier in the week about, let the guy that gives them the best chance to win go out there and be the starting quarterback, whoever that is, whether that's Kirk Cousins, Fernando Mendoza. Hell, you could throw Aiden O'Connell in that conversation. Whoever this coaching staff believes gives them the best opportunity to win games is what should be most important. We've been talking about getting to the promised land, hoisting the Lombardi. They haven't done it since Super Bowl 18. It's about to be Super Bowl 61. For you mathematicians, that's 43 seasons. So it's been a while, right? The Knicks, it had been 53 seasons. They finally got it done. The first time in my lifetime I've seen the Knicks win a championship. So I asked the question, what would it mean to you? What would it mean to your family? For me, it would be confirmation that everything that I've said and everything that I believed and everything that I've told anyone, at some point was going to come true. Now, I know, someone who's the naysayer will say, yeah, but, a broken clock is right twice a day. So, I mean, all you got to do is keep going back to the well each and every year. Eventually, you got to get it right? Well, I mean, not so fast. Because at some point, you might just say, hey, this is taking too long, right? You know how you're standing in line at the grocery store, and then you notice that my line ain't moving, but that line's getting a little shorter? Or you tell your wife or your significant other, hey, man, go stand in that other line. I'll stand in this line. You let whichever one gets there faster, that's which line we'll take. It happens. I know there's been plenty of Raider fans that have said, hey, you know what, this ain't going to get it done. Let's go bail. Now, you know what, I like this player over there. Let's go root for that team. I know Raider Nation don't want to hear that, but that's reality. Fans want to be part of something winning. And then there's, the diehards, which Raider Nation, I fully believe through and through, is full of passionate diehard fans that all are waiting, all, anticipating the Raiders hoisting the Lombardi Trophy. It just hasn't happened. And unfortunately, since the last time I saw them play in a Super Bowl, there's only been 2 playoff appearances. 2016, where, like I said, I'll go to my grave and tell you that was the Raiders' year. I'll argue anybody that. I don't care. I'll argue the players on the team. The players that were playing in 2016, I'll say, hey, man, you were going to win a championship. You were going to hoist the Lombardi. Nah, Q, we didn't have it. Yes, you did. Like, I'll argue with them. That's how much I believe that was the Raiders' year. We all know how that ended. And then 2021 was really weird and fluky how they got into the playoffs, but they did, to their credit. They got into the playoffs. That's why Rich Bisaccia will eat for free in Vegas anytime he's in town, anytime in the 702. So what would it mean to you is the question that we threw out there. If and when you see the Raiders hoist that Lombardi once again, that 4th Lombardi in the team history, what would it mean to you? What would it mean to your family? Let us know your thoughts. 702-365-9200. That's the text line and the phone line. We'll do football right in a hot minute, but let's go out to Oregon, talk to our guy, Charles. Charles in charge. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind?
Hey, Q, Ari, what's going on, fellas? How you guys doing?
Hey, man, we're blessed, man. How about you?
Same, blessed. Yeah, I just got to say, I was raised in the Monterey Bay area.
Nice.
And so growing up, for me, it was always Raiders, Warriors, and Giants. And to see the Giants win in 10, 12, and 14, it was just absolutely amazing. To see Steph Curry and Clay and Draymond, and then eventually the whole team coming together and winning 4 championships, the Giants winning 3, it was amazing. And you know what? It doesn't come close to when I was 13 years old, and I remember Marcus Allen just pivoting on the Redskins and flipping his hips and running for 77 yards. I remember being 13 years old in the living room and just jumping up and down and going crazy. And so last year I came out to Vegas. My wife and I took a tour of Allegiant Stadium, and, I was just so in awe of the whole stadium that I didn't realize we were about to walk onto the field. And, when you go on the tour, you walk through, we go by the locker room, and then we're coming out onto the field, and there's all this smoke, and you hear the autumn wind. And as we walked out, my wife looked and turned and looked at me, and she said, "Are you crying?" And I was like, hey, don't look away, man. Yeah, I'm tearing up a little bit. So what would it mean to me as a Raider fan to see them win when I haven't seen them win since I was 13 years old? It would mean just absolutely everything as a Raiders fan. The Warriors winning, that was awesome. The Giants winning, that was awesome. But it would not even come close to see the Raiders get that 4th Lombardi. So I'm hoping and praying they pull this together, and then we got home field in the Super Bowl coming up real soon, and that Fernando and Clint Kubiak and the entire team get it done. So that's my hope. Go Raiders. God bless. You guys have a great day.
Hey, great call, Charles, and I'm glad you brought the Warriors into it and even the Giants. I'm an A's fan, so I saw 89, and that was exciting. Obviously, I haven't seen any of that since then, but that's a whole nother conversation. But the Warriors, I'm right there with you. I remember being in Texas and the Warriors and Steph Curry and company winning that first one. It had been, 40 years since they had won it? And that was exciting for me because I'm not a guy that was covering the Warriors. I'm in Central Texas. I wasn't sitting there, talking about the Warriors on the air every day outside of when we had NBA conversations. So I didn't feel like I was in a professional type setting when it came to the Warriors. It was just, hey, that's my favorite team. I remember when they stunk and they used to, used to get tickets for cheap or half price, or you would go to the games to watch the other team that came in. And so, yeah, that very first championship, I didn't cry, but, man, I felt some kind of way. I ain't going to lie about that. I remember sitting on the couch watching that. I was like, oh, my gosh. I'm texting back and forth with my mom. I'm like, they did it. They pulled it off. They finally got this dub. And I'm telling the wife, like, no, you don't understand. Like, they won a championship. The freaking Golden State Warriors won a championship. The guys that play right there off the highway, right, they play in that building. And I remember when we went to the Bay, I was like, that building right there, right off of 880. Those dudes just won a championship. Like, it's incredible because all the years that I had gone there and seen a bad product or gone there and seen the other team come in. I can't tell you how many times I went to the game to watch Gary Payton or Jason Kidd or Shaq or Michael Jordan or Allen Iverson, or you insert whatever player that was great come in, Reggie Miller, right? All these great players I saw play at the Oakland Coliseum. And it wasn't because the Warriors were good. It's because most of the time they stunk. Then every once in a while they had a fun run TMC, right? Latrell Sprewell was my guy until he choked the coach, right? That wasn't cool. But, there's so many moments that you could hold on to, and it just never was, oh, this is going to be a championship team. And then when they did win the Larry O, that was incredible. That was a really good call, Charles. Thanks so much for that. We do appreciate that. Let's keep the party rolling, 702-365-9200. Let's talk to the historian. I know he got a little something to tell us. Raider 66, welcome to the show. What's on your mind?
Oh, Q, hey, good afternoon, and yeah, what a great subject. I tell you, I'm like your last caller there. My wife took me for a tour a couple of Father's Days ago, and at the stadium. And yeah, I walked out on that field, and I just looked up in the stands, looked at that logo at the middle of the field, and I said, Mark did it. His dad would be so proud. I think Al would be in tears himself looking at this beautiful facility. And when the Raiders get back to the top of the heap, win that fourth Lombardi trophy, you just don't know. I mean, you have to understand, us old timers, the Raiders being great was just the way it was. I mean, we were expecting to be in the championship game of the Super Bowl every year from 67 to 77, an 11-year stretch. We were in the championship game or the Super Bowl 9 of those 11 years. Missed the playoffs one year. The other year, the Immaculate Deception kept us out of the championship game, or it would have been 10 out of 11. And then within 6 years, we win 2 more Super Bowls after that stretch. I mean, it was just a foregone conclusion. The Raiders are going to be knocking at the door every year. And then we have, what we've had the last several decades. And I just can't wait for that minute for people like your son, the new Raider Nation that have never seen the Raiders be the Raiders. They were the winningest team in professional sports, not just football, professional sports.
I remember that.
For about a quarter of a century.
Yep.
I mean, you're talking from 63 when Al took over to 1985. You're talking 22 years. Most of those years, it was only a 14-game season. They won 229 games and tied 11 in those 22 years.
Wow.
You figure that's over 10 wins a season in a mostly 14-game season. They've only got 512 regular season wins now in their history. So that shows you how far it fell off. And for the Raiders to be number 6 all time in playoff wins with all these extra playoff games they got now, and for them not being in the playoffs for most of the last 40 years, that shows you how remarkable those teams were. And for them to get back to the heap, I mean, it will be so awesome. Raider Nation, the young Raider Nation, the Knicks are feeling it now. Doesn't know the feeling of how euphoric it is for your team to be the best on the planet. It is so awesome. And I can't wait for that day. I know it's coming. This group has got us poised. We're going to take the steps. It's not going to happen this year, most likely, unless something. But we're on the cusp. We're getting very close. And Hugh, thank you for allowing me to, voice a little bit of this, because this is going to be awesome. Wait for the ride. It is going to be awesome. Thanks for the time, Q. Have a great day. Go Raiders.
You do the same. Great call, 66. That was fantastic. If that don't get you fired up, I don't know what is and what will, right? I mean, you might not have a pulse if that doesn't get you fired up. That damn near got me fired up, man. I'm lucky I ain't got a helmet here at the house. I might have gone and got a helmet and tried to run through the wall. Now, that would have been frowned upon, but I might have tried to do that. He got me fired up. And the funny thing about this is, and again, not saying that it's going to happen this year, when Mike Brown got hired by the Knicks, I know as a basketball fan and as a guy that has a lot of respect for Mike Brown, I was like, it doesn't really do nothing for me. That's not really that great of a hire. I think that's more of a lateral move. But he found a way to get the secret sauce. And it wasn't like they were just some dominant team all season long. They weren't even the number 1 seed in the East. They went into the postseason. I said, there's no way they can win a championship. They're not consistent. They had the Hawks pushing them. They almost lost in the first round to the Hawks, right? They had lost a couple games, and then all of a sudden they went on a 13-1 run to win the trophy. They got hot at the right time. So, again, I don't know how this season's going to play out. I don't know how next season's going to play out. But it just proves, what they did just proves, if you get the right guy in place and you get the right people in place and structure in the locker room in the building, good things could happen. You just got to put in the work. They put in the work. They're reaping the benefits, and they have the rewards now. And now it's up to the Raiders. It feels like to me that they have the right people in place. It feels like to me they're putting the right pieces in place as far as the players on the field. As Jason Horowitz said, I think the defense is going to be pretty good led by Rob Leonard. I agree. I've sung Rob Leonard's praises for a long time. Right? This is not all of a sudden just he's the defensive coordinator, so let's jump on the bandwagon and start talking about him. No. We've been talking about Rob Leonard here for a long time. I think he's going to be really good. And I think Clint Kubiak, what he's already done, his resume that he's shown, gives us confidence that the offense is going to be good as well. Really good. A lot better than it has been. So keep that feedback coming, man. Really good stuff. 702-365-9200. I did tell you that I wanted to do football right, so we're going to definitely do that. And the way we're going to do that is get into what Coach Cignetti had to say when he was part of the Rich Eisen show, when Rich Eisen was asking him. They asked him about a lot of different things on their way to winning a championship, but got into Fernando Mendoza.
When did you learn he was special?
I really liked him at Cal. I thought he had a lot of talent. I mean, Georgia and Miami were the final two we had to overcome to get him. So, I mean, he wasn't an under-the-radar guy by any means. Needs some work in the pocket, footwork-wise. He didn't have great protection at Cal. He had a big game against Illinois, our first Big Ten game here at home. He really started to make big-time progress, build on his successes. Played really good at the end of the Iowa game, which we won in the last minute. And then out at Oregon, kind of same thing, made a mistake and overcame it, led us to a victory. The Penn State comeback. Wow.
Right.
Never seen anything like it.
Neither have I.
Yeah. And you know what? We've all seen him interviewed. He come off a little geeky. The guy's a lion as a competitor. He is ferocious, tough, and, makes plays with his arm and his legs.
He seems too good to be true. That's another phrase about him, right? Like, he's so genuine, but some people think his genuineness might not be real, Coach,
No, it's real. And very deep guy. I mean, extremely intelligent, can talk about a lot of different things, but, committed to be great. When Tom Brady was his idol, and I've never been around a guy in 45 years that prepared like he did. I mean, he covered every base and then some. I learned from him. The great ones, you learn from the great ones.
What'd you learn from him?
The level of detail and preparation and how it never ends. How it never ends. You know what else?
What? The
way he played and the toughness he displayed really pulled that team together, and he was a great team guy.
Yeah, and you could see that when he's talking even at OTAs right now with the Raiders. You could see that he mentions it, and again, it might come across as like, well, it's quarterback just saying the right things and leaders saying the right things, but it does, as I mentioned, come across to me as genuine. Certainly when I've gotten a chance to chat with him. Did you chat with Brady during the draft process at all, or did they reach out to you about him?
No, I talked to the head coach, new head coach, and I talked to the new GM about another matter, or the GM, but no, they didn't need to talk to me. They let the film, it's right there on tape.
There you go. That's Indiana head football coach Coach Cignetti right there. Just a part of the conversation he had earlier today with Rich Eisen on the Rich Eisen show from ESPN, but talking all things Fernando Mendoza, what he brings to the table. And like I said, wanted to make sure that we do football right here on Unnecessary Roughness, RaiderNation Radio 920. And we'll see how it all plays out, right? We'll see, the Raiders have a plan in place. All good plans could be adjusted. So I do believe that the plan going in is for Kirk Cousins to be the guy to start the season, but that doesn't mean that the plan can't be adjusted. And again, when you make a plan, just like when we put together a show, we've got to run down, we've got to outline, and sometimes also we got to pivot. We got to keep our head on a swivel. That's why on this show we call ourselves special teams, right? Because if you don't, you'll get ear hold. And it only takes one ear hole to understand, I don't want that problem no more. I don't want that smoke. So we always have a plan. But like I said, plans can be adjusted. And speaking of plans, Tom Telesco, part of SiriusXM NFL, he's been, ever since he left being the GM of the Silver and Black, and that just kind of felt like collateral damage for him. He's been doing this kind of media tour. He's been a guest on Amber and Ian on ESPN Radio. He's really good friends with my guy Ian Fitzsimmons. He's done a lot on SiriusXM NFL. He was also asked about Fernando Mendoza, Kirk Cousins, and he talked about the plan.
I think they have a great plan put together for him. To have Kirk Cousins there, who's a legit veteran quarterback that should be if you look at how he played last year, he should be able to at least sustain it. He's not going to play the way he played 5, 6, 7 years ago, but he's a legitimate veteran starting quarterback. So it does give Mendoza a chance whenever that may be, and they haven't made a hard decision on, hey, look, he's not playing this year, he's definitely redshirting. Or they haven't said, hey, look, Kirk Cousins will just start the year and then we'll bring in Fernando at some point. We'll just kind of let it happen organically. And some may happen organically, just how well Mendoza plays in training camp and how well he practices. And it could be the opposite. It could be maybe Kirk Cousins doesn't play real well to begin the year. That's the only thing when you have a first round quarterback, and you're planning to not play him originally, that veteran quarterback, the first interception he throws, the first loss that they have, everybody is going to be yelling, well, just put in the first round draft pick, put in the number 1 overall choice, put Mendoza in and let him go. So you're going to have to guard against that because they're going to be up and downs with Kirk Cousins, and the offense is still being built out. I think it's definitely better this year than last year, but it still needs some upgrades, and you can't do it all in 1 year. But I think just organically, we'll see how it plays out. It could be in September, it could be in October, it could be later in the year. We'll kind of see. Or, he could win the job in training camp. I think that could happen as well.
I think that summarizes it perfectly when it comes to the plan that the Raiders have for the quarterback position in that quarterback room, but how it can be adjusted and how easily it could be adjusted. And that's why I think it's great. The Raiders are in that triple threat option, right? You catch, you shoot, you keep your dribble. You can dribble, you can shoot the ball, or you can pivot, whatever the case may be, right? There's so many different things that you can do from the position that they're in. They have a veteran, they have a rookie, and obviously they're going to figure things out and work things out in training camp. And so, as Clint Kubiak tells everyone, it will reveal itself. It clearly will reveal itself. And Tom Telesco is absolutely spot on when he says that the first interception that Kirk throws or the first game that they lose, if he in fact is starting the season, everyone's going to be calling in at 702-365-9200. Said, all right, Q, I've seen enough. I've seen enough. It's only week 2. I've seen enough. He threw an interception. I've seen enough. Put him in, right? I mean, that's what's the inevitable. We're going to hear that for sure. That's why when I say, hey, maybe he'll make it to week 14, that's going to be a long 13 weeks. That's going to be a long 13 weeks because there will be ups and downs. And every time there's a down, we're going to hear that name scream from the mountaintop. It's Mendoza time. When are they going to put Mendoza in? But I definitely wanted to make sure to get that sound in as we do football right.
Doing football right on Unnecessary Roughness. Brought to you by Meineke. Doing car care right.
And just for any of you out there that may need to get your oil changed, I do want to let you know that Meineke has a synthetic blend oil change now for just $24.95. So check out our fine folks and our fine partners at Meineke and get hooked up. Again, $24.95 for a synthetic blend oil change. Jeff Legwold, ESPN senior writer, will join us coming up in about 10 minutes or so. Ari's got winning on the way. I do want to get to some more texts on the same subject that we've been talking about. It's been 43 seasons since the Raiders won Super Bowl 18. It's about to be Super Bowl 61. So, again, you could do the math. That's 43 seasons. If and when they finally return to the promised land, much like the Knicks after 53 years, what would it mean to you? What would it mean to your family? Got a lot of great feedback on the text line at 702-365-9200, like this one from Jason in Baltimore, good friend of the show. Q, I'm just excited that we seem to be on the right path to success. It would mean everything. Like you, I was 7 in 83, but I did watch the game and recall the day. Watched in Pomona with a few former Niner fam. And the minute Marcus Allen reversed field and made that run and being in the L.A. area, the market really celebrated the Raiders. And from that point on until they left, it was all Raiders all the time. And the city had posters of like Howie Long and company everywhere. Bus stops, schools, billboards, etc. I told people if the Raiders could win a bowl before I check out of here, I'd go to my grave a happy man. That's an awesome text. It really is. And I'm sure being in that area at the time even meant more. Just like Knicks fans that were in New York, you know, when they won that championship, even though they won the championship in San Antonio, but you saw the streets flooded in New York, just like I'm sure the fans that were in Oakland or even in the Bay when the Warriors won their first championship. I remember being in the Bay when the A's got it in 89, and I was a youngster then, but I was riding. I was riding because my favorite player was the guy. He was the man, Ricky Henderson, right? And so, you couldn't tell me nothing, right? An earthquake couldn't stop from the A's from winning that championship. I knew that was going to happen. The Battle of the Bay beat the brakes off the Giants. And Mama Q's a Giants fan, so sorry for you. Now, she got the last laugh because they've won many championships, as Charles in Oregon pointed out. They've won multiples. They were winning championships like every other year. It's like every couple years, boom, Giants win another one. A's ain't sniffed it, but that's all right. I had my moment. I had my time to shine back in '89. That was a long time ago. But yeah, that's a great point, a great text, and I agree with you 100% when you say it seems to be that they're on the right path to success. That is the hope right there. Like Jason Horowitz said, what's a 4-letter word? Hope. That's the hope that Raider Nation has, because it does seem like they're headed on the right path. They're making the right decisions. They have the right people in place. Now it's all about execution, going out there, putting in the work, and getting it done. Sir Whiskey Ray hit us up with a pretty lengthy text. We do appreciate you, Sir Whiskey Ray. So what's up, gentlemen, on this Wednesday and fantastic topic? Here I go, Q. What it would mean to me when the Raiders lift the 4th Lombardi. I'll cry, and that's keeping it real. I hope I'm able to share that moment with my pops, my siblings, my closest family members, and buddies who bleed silver and black. All those awful moments sitting at the Coliseum after a dreaded defeat, trash talking to Niner fans as I can remember, and miserable season after miserable season. A championship would mean the world. All this losing over the years is a norm, and I want to go away so bad. Other than that, I'm still in awe after Messi's incredible hat trick last night. Thanks as always. Cheers to Whiskey Ray. P.S. When do we win our 4th chip? When we do win our 4th chip, I hope I'm able to celebrate it with both you and Ari. That's from Sir Whiskey Ray. Really good text. Well, that's only if we can get Ari out the booth, man. Ari, he don't leave the studio too often.
If we win, come on, I'll be there. What's more likely? Let's do this. What's more likely, me going somewhere or the Raiders winning the Super Bowl in, I don't know, the next few years, I guess.
I mean,
you don't need to answer.
Even if they win, I don't know if you're going to come out the booth. You might be like, well, I'm kind of busy. I have to check to see what I got going on this weekend. Hey, Ari, everyone's going to be over here celebrating. I don't know, man. I saw someone dump something in my trash can the other day, so I got to be at home to make sure just in case they come by again.
Oh, you know me too well. But no. Even if there's something in my trash can, I'll wait. I'll let that just roll, and I'll move along.
That a boy. Well, go ahead and get something out, man. I know we got Jeff Legwold, ESPN senior writer, coming up next. What you got for him?
In the meantime, I have a 4-pack of tickets to see the Aviators versus the Round Rock Express. That is at the lovely LV Ballpark, June 20th. Tickets available at Ticketmaster or right now with me, a 4-pack, 702-365-9200. Must be a Nevada resident.
Boom, there it is right there, 702-365-9200. Keep that feedback coming and be calling number 9 so you can get hooked up. We got Jeff Legwold, ESPN senior writer. He joins us next. It's RaiderNation Radio 920.
I want to hear what all these structures mean, because I was talking to somebody the other day and they said it's all about cash and how much eventually that cash comes due and whatever you're paying. But there's ways to manipulate it, and it gets manipulated in signing bonus, in roster bonuses. Every team does it. Some teams have more cash to divvy out up front. What all these numbers mean?
You're listening to Unnecessary Roughness with your boy Q. Brought to you by Meineke, doing car care right.
The guy that had all the questions right there about the salary cap, he goes by the name of Jason Kelsey. The podcast he was on, the New Heights podcast. He does that with his brother, Travis Kelsey. You may have heard of him. Pretty good players. Pretty good players. They'll have a place in Canton, Ohio one day when it's all said and done. It's Unnecessary Roughness, RaiderNation Radio 920. But the salary cap is always a question, right? The salary cap is always something everyone talks about. Well, you can't hold on to this player because, you don't have enough space under the salary cap. And I've always been of the belief you keep who you really want to keep, and you use the salary cap to say, I can't afford to keep that player. But the Denver Broncos, they had to obviously get creative when they made that move to cut Russell Wilson and pay him a large sum of money to go away, and they started new. So how did they do it? They've been fine ever since Russell Wilson has been gone from the organization. Again, it's Unnecessary Roughness here on RaiderNation Radio 920. Join us now to talk about that is our guy Jeff Legwold, ESPN senior writer. Has got a piece out right now on ESPN.com. Did the Broncos start NFL salary cap trend by cutting Russell Wilson? And, Jeff, thanks so much for your time. I do appreciate you. So how did the Broncos go about making that work when they gave that large amount of money to Russell Wilson and said go away, but yet they've been fine and been in the playoffs multiple times since then?
Well, the big thing they sort of took on that no one else had been willing to take on before is you can manipulate the cap and you can do things to avoid cap trouble and all those things. But dead money, the money that counts against your salary cap for players you no longer have, is unavoidable. You can't escape it. But they still elected to take what was then a record dead money hit when they released Russell Wilson. $85 million against their salary cap for 2 years, split over 2 years. But it was over twice what any team had ever taken on before. So I just wanted to ask people around the league, did that make you take notice that a figure unheard of before could be dealt with? And they all gave the same answer, and that is, you've got to somehow have a young quarterback in the mix, either a quarterback on a rookie contract, or you replace probably the quarterback with the big dead money figure with a young quarterback. So that element was there, and the Broncos have the richest ownership group in the league. It's not in terms of finances. So they can use cash. They can sign players with more guaranteed up front at signing. And over the course of the time after they released Russell Wilson, they spent $300 million in guaranteed at signing on players. So cash immediately out the door, not over time, and then they were uncommonly healthy. And most people felt like if somehow you could recreate those three things, that you could navigate dead money in the modern cap.
Well, now Miami has taken it to a whole nother level. $179 million and $99 million of dead cap goes straight to Tua, who they released. He's in Atlanta now. Is it similar? Is that the same approach? Did they pay a lot of guaranteed money, or are they just trying to reinvent what the Denver Broncos did?
I think they took a little piece of each. I think and talking to people there, I think they believe theirs is a little more of a traditional rebuild, and that they have probably a little more of an uphill climb for them, because that's obviously, they took on $92 million for Tua in dead money alone. And that already broke the record, the Broncos just set, 2 years ago. So I think they perceive that as more of a traditional rebuild, but they did say, and just privately too, that, what the Broncos have done makes you look at it harder. In that, okay, what elements did they have? What can we recreate? Now, they took the free agency route to fix the quarterback spot. They paid Malik Willis, $60-some million. So they took a different route. But when you look at a team like the Cardinals, who took on a huge dead money hit to release Kyler Murray, I think they're banking on the 2027 draft being what is considered to be possibly a good quarterback class. So I think those elements are all there.
Jeff Legwold, ESPN senior writer, with us here on Raider Nation Radio 920. So it's worked for Denver. Obviously, they made it to the playoffs. They made a deep run, almost made it to the Super Bowl. Is it going to have to be a proof of concept for these other teams that it does truly work for them to continue to do this? Or, or do you think teams are just going to do it anyway and trust that it's going to work out for them?
I think a lot of it is it's going to be, you're going to have to decide who you are up front. Are you in a real rebuild? Are you looking at this as a long process? The Broncos did it thinking there are 6 first-round quarterbacks in the draft coming up. We can get one of those. And they felt like they had a veteran roster in place to compete. So they didn't look at it as a rebuild. They looked at it as sucking it up for especially the first season, 2024. They looked at it like that, and then they'd be and keep going. And frankly, a lot of it was just attitude. Like from their owner to Sean Payton, they basically said told everybody in the building, don't want to hear any excuses about this. They've decided they're going to do it. They made the decision, and everyone was just going to live with the decision and move on. So I think it really is an organizational, which I think it's like two levels of doing it. You're either doing it to keep advancing and you think you have a playoff team, or you're just in the real rebuild where you've reorganized the entire front office and are attacking the roster like from ground zero. And I think that's where the Dolphins are at. I think the Cardinals and the Browns, took out a big Myles Garrett hit, Falcons even. I think they feel like they're in a different place than maybe the Dolphins are right now.
So what would you say is kind of the Jets' approach? As they traded off a lot of their assets and got a ton of draft capital back, they have multiple first-rounders next year. Is it similar, or is it all just really they're trying to hit on their draft picks?
Well, the Broncos knew they didn't have the draft capital. They had traded 2 1s and 2 2s to get Russell Wilson. So they not only did this, taking on dead money, they did it without the draft capital a lot of other teams had. But, Darren Moogie's the GM, and like John Spytek there, they were on the same scouting staff here under John Elway. So I've known Moogie a long time, and they've made it a point to really point toward trying to get a long-term quarterback solution in the 2027 draft, and they are loading up to have the flexibility to get the guy they want, in next April's draft. Because again, everything can change during a college season, but an awful lot of scouts already evaluate at least 4, maybe 5 first-round quarterback grades by the time the season's over in next year's draft.
Well, Jeff, you mentioned young quarterbacks. I did want to ask you about a young quarterback that's throwing his name into the ring. That's Brendan Sorsby with every situation he has coming out of Texas Tech. Do you think a team is going to take a shot at him because he's, that might be a 4th-round pick for all I know that they can get him for in the supplemental draft?
Yeah, it's been a while since we had a supplemental draft, and it does go through the rounds like the normal draft. It's just much quicker because teams just say yes or no. So you may get a mid-round pick for a player a lot of people think would have a back-end first-round grade in the draft right now, depending who you talk to. But there's an awful lot of vetting to do there. I think people would have to take pause. I think that's one where the GM's going to have to feel entrenched enough to have the owner's green light to do what he thinks is best. But I think he is going to have to convince teams that, he's gone through a treatment program, that it isn't going to be an issue, because that wasn't like 10 bets or 90 bets. I believe the legal documents say it was 9,000 wagers. So that's a lot different thing to explain, no matter how good you are. But I always tell people, and you guys know this, it only takes one in the league to be interested. Yep. And so you can I've talked to many, many people, but unless I talk to the one who would actually do it, it's tough to say that nobody would do it.
Jeff Legwold, ESPN senior writer with us here on RaiderNation Radio 920. We'll get you out with this. You mentioned John Spytek. What have you thought of the job that John Spytek has done putting this Raiders roster together in year 2?
Well, it's always good when you find the guy you believe can be your long-term solution at quarterback, and I know John believes that Fernando is exactly that. John has a long-time scouting background, and that's how he attacks things. So I think he's tried to get a lot of value where they picked. You're not reaching, you're not jamming picks in, you're not picking for need. You're picking really good value picks that are going to make your roster. And I think he's increased the athleticism on the roster. And again, as Mendoza, whatever he becomes, that's a great start to any regime. And Clint was here, when as a young coach, and I've known Clint's dad Gary for a long time here at covering the Broncos. So I've been around Clint since he was like in high school. So I'm excited to see, or really intrigued to see how he attacks being a head coach, because I've always thought he really was going to be one someday, and he's obviously got good family tree around him to get it done.
There's no doubt. There's no doubt. You're excited. We're excited as well to see what it all looks like. Pretty fired up about the coaching staff. John Spytek, the job he's done, and the roster that he's built. Well, Jeff, fantastic stuff, man. Really good article on ESPN.com. You got anything else that you're working on that we should be able to look out for?
Well, mini camp just ended today, so I'm gonna have to scrounge through, but probably a little something on J.K. Dobbins coming up soon.
Okay.
So we'll see.
Okay. All right. Well, we'll definitely check that out for sure. Jeff, great work, man. Thanks so much. We definitely appreciate you.
Thank you. Take care.
All right, you do the same. Jeff Legwold right there, ESPN senior writer. And, again, he's got an article out. Did the Broncos start NFL salary cap trend by cutting Russell Wilson? And you saw them go make that move. That was looked at as like, oh, man, how did they do this? And then Miami was like, hey, hold our beer. We're going to really raise the ante, right? It was actually $99 million dead cap that Tua is when they decided to move on from him. Obviously, he's in Atlanta now. He's out there competing with Michael Penix. And the Cardinals, they made their moves to move on from Kyler Murray. And I do think that there is something to be said about that. I do think more teams are going to say, you know what, the salary cap goes up every year. It goes up a lot. This guy's not going to cut it, so let's just go ahead and cut him. Move on from him. Yeah, we're going to take the L, but we're going to trust that our scouting team is solid. We're going to trust that the guy that we need to be in that position, we're going to go get, most likely, like Jeff pointed out, it's going to be the quarterback, right? That's the guy that's going to have that kind of salary that you can move on from. And if you're able to go get that guy, and I'll say this, I don't think the Raiders did exactly that this past year, but you saw the salaries that they took on. You saw the free agents that they brought in, one-year guys. The Raiders had 26 free agents around that number when the season wrapped up. So we all knew that they were going to have an opportunity to really turn the roster around, and they had a lot of salary cap space because they didn't have any ridiculous contracts on their roster. And then they moved on from Geno Smith after 1 year. So it takes some dead cap hit there, but they kind of did something similar. Not the extreme that the Broncos, the Dolphins, and the Cardinals did, but they had a little something that they did as well to put themselves in position to have a splash and make an offseason and cash in the way that they did and bring in as many free agents as they have, and obviously have plenty of draft capital as well. So many thanks to Jeff Legwold for his time this afternoon here on RaiderNation Radio 920. We got David Rumsey, Front Office Sports, joining us coming up at the top of the hour, talking all things Fernando Mendoza as he sat down with him. Really good interview, so we'll get his thoughts on Fernando and more, but we want to get your thoughts next as we close out hour number 2. It's RaiderNation Radio 920.
At the end of the day, penalties have a lot to do with discipline. And that delay of game was all my fault. Loud stadium as I expected, and gotta be better on that. However, they say you're the winner, you learn. So that was a good learning opportunity. So next time, promise that'll never happen again. There'll be another delay of game penalty. You guys learn from that moment at the end of the day, and we start capitalizing on other opportunities.
Now back to Unnecessary Roughness with your boy Q. Presented by Meineke, doing car care right.
Fernando Mendoza right there. That's going all the way back to 2023. That was post-game at Utah. They took a L 34-14, and we had a question the other day, statement I should say, from Black Caesar on Twitter, talking about what Mendoza sounds like, and when he deals with adversity. We were talking about it's easy to be happy and up-tempo when everything is going well and sounding positive, but what happens when adversity hits? What do you sound like post-game? And again, that's 2023. It's now 2026, so take it for what it's worth. But he's a pro. He's got it between the ears. I'm sure he's going to figure it out. I'm sure there'll be plenty of that's on me. That's and I'm sure he'll take a lot of accountability. He just seems like that type of guy, and that's typically what the quarterback does. And there'll be coaches that'll take the responsibility as well. I didn't set them up to do the right thing, and that's just kind of what it is. We'll get more when it comes to Fernando Mendoza. For David Rumsey, who'll join us coming up at the top of the hour from Front Office Sports. He sat down and had a nice little interview with Fernando, so we'll get his thoughts on obviously everything going on right now and how Fernando can deal with adversity. We do want to hear from you at 702-365-9200. Been talking about the Raiders hoisting the Lombardi. They haven't done it since Super Bowl 18. It's about to be Super Bowl 61 this year. You know, just like the Knicks, who hadn't done it in 53 seasons, they finally got it done. You see the excitement, the everyone fired up and everything about winning that championship. So what would it mean to you? What would it mean to your family if and when the Raiders do get to the promised land and they hoist up that Lombardi, that fourth Lombardi in the history of the team? Lyle said, the Raiders getting another Lombardi has been a mirage for so long. Lately, I can't even imagine what it would mean to me if that were to happen. And I have faith that it's on the horizon. However, if I keep my word to some friends, the next time the Raiders win the Super Bowl, I have to run around the block naked. That is from our guy, Lyle. Lyle, I respect the fact that you want to do what you said you're going to do. But don't go to jail. Don't go to jail. Like, celebrate and be happy. Just keep your drawers on, man. Keep your drawers on. Don't run around naked, man. You can run around with no shirt on. That's cool, right? We'll go ahead and give you a pass. Tell. I don't know when you told your friends that, but it's 2026 and say, hey, man, look, inflation has meant that, there could be some problems if I do that. So I just want to make sure I keep myself out of harm's way. So, yeah, man, just keep your drawers on. You'll be all right, right? You can run around in your drawers. Someone might look at you sideways, but you should stay out of jail. Just remember, I got your back. I understand, though, that excitement. You'll end up messing around being like Will Ferrell on Old School. Everybody's doing it. We're going streaking. And then look back, and you'll be the only one there.
Great movie reference, Q.
I like
Is that
funny
really
movies.
You?
Yeah, I like funny movies,
Yeah,
man.
no,
I like
you do.
funny movies.
You nailed that one, though.
Yeah, that's what I do. That's
Great.
what I do. That is funny. That is funny. But thanks for that. I do appreciate it. Let's see. We got Laquan said, Q, it'll go down as follows, my G. Tears of joy. Unabridged happiness outside with pots and pans and my flag, and then I'm calling all them naysayers to talk all that ish. I like it. I like it. That's what you're supposed to do, man. You're supposed to get fired up and get super excited. Let's see. East Oakland Raider. East Oakland, yeah, that's right. Just saw Too Short over the weekend, so I remember that track. He said, what's good, Q? Damn, what a question. Tears of joy for sure. My whole life been pain after suck with my team. It'd be pure euphoria. Can you imagine how lit the town would be? I remember the last time they made it to the dance. I was 14. In 14. Wait, damn. 14 was crazy. Got goosebumps thinking about it. Raiders. That's from East Oakland Raider. East 14th. East 14th was crazy. All right. Now I put it all together. See, now we're on the same page. Now I get it. He said East 14th was crazy. Yeah, man, that's the block, isn't it? East 14th is the block forever. That bad boy go all the way from Oakland to, like, Fremont and changes names like 3 times. It goes from Oakland to Hayward to Fremont and multiple times, man. It's all kind of different names. I don't even know what name it is now. They're probably like another name, but, yeah, man, that's the block. So, yeah, I'm sure I can only imagine how lit that was last time that the Raiders were really, really good. I remember last time when they were in that championship game against Baltimore, I remember pulling up to the Coliseum and all the cars were still parked on 880 right there trying to get in. Parking lot wasn't even opened yet, and everyone was fired up. I was coming from K-Win, as a matter of fact. I did the overnight show, 12 to 6, midnight to 6 a.m. Got in the car, rode out. Mama Q was on the highway waiting to get in. She had already reserved the spot. Me and my boy Corey, we stopped at the liquor store on the way in. And remember, this is early in the morning. Stopped at the liquor store, had to pick up a little something, get to the tailgate party. It was crazy, man. That parking lot was insane. So yeah, I can only imagine it would be, like you said, I'm sure there'd be plenty of Raider Nation that would be tears of joy. That is for sure, man. Really good text. Keep that party rolling, man. 702-365-9200. Continue to hit us up on the text line. What would it mean to you? The last time the Raiders hoisted a Lombardi was Super Bowl 18. It's about to be 61, 43 seasons. If and when they finally return to the promised land, what would it mean? What would it mean to you, your family, your friends, your kids? What? Just let us know what your thoughts would be. Again, 702-365-9200. David Rumsey, Front Office Sports. He kicks off hour number 3. We'll do that next here on RaiderNation Radio 920.
First of all, the biggest thing is there's no school. So all your time can truly be for football. And it's a great revelation. All my focus is towards football. It's my job. And what a great, fun job that I have and how blessed. But there are growing pains with that. And I've had a little bit of growing pains during OTAs. But however, I've always believed that whatever mistakes I make, let's not be a repeat offender, as Coach Kubiak says, and making sure that I'm growing and learning, which I believe I have been doing.
It's Unnecessary Roughness. Presented by Meineke, doing car care right. Here's your boy Q.
Fernando Mendoza, as we kick off hour number 3 of the show, he's just said part of an interview that he did. Fernando Mendoza's edge with the Raiders, access to Tom Brady, and you heard what he had to say right there as we come in, and really good little YouTube interview as well, and it was part of the front office sports interview. Matter of fact, it was done by David Rumsey, and David Rumsey joins us now here on Unnecessary Roughness on RaiderNation Radio 920. Got an opportunity to sit down with Fernando Mendoza, catch up with him, and pick his brain on multiple different subjects. And David, thanks so much for your time. I appreciate you. When you talk to Fernando, people always talk about, is he authentic? Is he real? Is it too good to be true the way he comes off? What was your impression after you wrapped up your conversation with the number 1 overall pick quarterback?
Yeah, thanks for having me on. And Fernando was great. Like you said in some of his interviews, he's, I don't know, maybe people would say a little awkward or sometimes a robotic, or really rehearsed. But once he lightened up and stuff, we had a great conversation talking about Star Wars and Tom Brady and coffee and everything. So he's really a bright young kid. I think once you just get him to loosen up and open up a little bit.
What did you think about when you asked him, what have you learned from Tom Brady? What has he been kind of pouring into you?
Yeah, I mean, I know he's talked about that to some other folks as well. And just Tom Brady's involvement with the Raiders is something we've been really interested in at Front Office Sports, him being, minority owner, but also a broadcaster for Fox. And so just everything he does there is so unique. And I think it's pretty clear that he's, really taken Fernando under his wing as far as everything from throwing technique to how to be a pro, in the film room. Fernando's not guaranteed to be the day one starter, right? So, how to be a supportive up and work with Kirk and all kinds of different things. And I think he's really, taking Brady's advice and trying to move fast.
David Rumsey, Front Office Sports, with us here on RaiderNation Radio 920. He's always talking about working hard and a work ethic and, being that guy to soak up everything. Did you get that sense of a strong work ethic, and he's always going to be that guy that's in the playbook trying to get better and better from your guys' conversations?
Oh, yeah, I think so. And I mean, you heard when he was at the NFL PA, rookie summit, he said he wished he didn't have to be there so he could, be at practice or watching film or whatever. He didn't say that to us. He was happy to do the interview and, talk about one of his endorsement deals. But, yeah, absolutely. I mean, you can tell he loves studying. He loves getting better, the actual physical work of the football, but also the film room and all that kind of stuff.
It's funny. I keep saying that I think what his cheat code is going to be is what he has between the ears. He just seems like he's so intelligent and just doesn't mind leaning into it, that's going to help him figure out how to be an NFL quarterback. What are your thoughts on just the intelligence and the way that he applies himself?
Oh, yeah. I mean, extremely intelligent. What he graduated from Cal in 3 years, right? So he has some really unique interests. I mentioned we're talking about Star Wars, and he gets really into the weeds with, has his LinkedIn sponsorship and things like that. So I think those are all intangibles that help him to be more than just a quarterback, see ball, throw ball. I think it's a lot deeper than that, and he wants to be intelligent so that when he is on the field, he's prepared for everything, similar to how Tom Brady was, right? I mean, not really the most gifted player athletically ever in the NFL, right? But, at the end of his career, he would say, I could see a defense, before the play even starts, I already know if I'm going to beat it or not. And I think Fernando's probably trying to take that mentality as well.
What were some of the interests? You mentioned Star Wars and obviously LinkedIn, and I know he's got a couple of different business ventures, but what were some of kind of the interests that, stood out to you that Fernando outside of football enjoys?
Yeah, I mean, he's kind of big into Legos as well. He told us, Star Wars, he's trademarked that Mandalorian or somebody on his team is. He ranked his top 5 Star Wars characters there. He said he doesn't drink coffee. I asked him, it's kind of a quirky question. He's like, hey, Tom Brady doesn't drink coffee. I didn't know that, but I've never been into caffeine 3.
All right, let's try to get him back. I was hoping, I wanted to hear this coffee story, and all of a sudden we lost him. So that happens sometimes, man. Cell phones do that sometimes. So hopefully we're able to get him back. Ari's going to try to reconnect, and if he does, then we'll be able to bring him back. But I don't want to go back and forth and hit and miss. And it's like he's riding around the 880, man. And the 880, and I don't know where he's really at, but I just know the 880 used to give me some problems every once in a while. So we'll see if we can get him back. You can try right now? Okay, all right. And David,
can you hear me?
Yeah, there you go. I got you. Now, you were telling us about the coffee story. I didn't want to miss the coffee story.
Yeah, just, I'd asked Fernando, hey, Tom Brady doesn't drink coffee, one of his many health quirks, and what's your morning routine? He said he didn't know that, but he doesn't drink coffee either, doesn't drink any caffeine, no energy drinks, just prefers to get a good night's sleep. So, already trying to be like the GOAT, maybe even unintentionally.
That's awesome. It really is. Again, David Rumsey, Front Office Sport, is with us here. Raider Nation Radio 920, talking all things Fernando Mendoza. When it comes to what he's learned, and even when he's had struggles so far, as we heard in the piece coming in, he doesn't want to make the same mistake twice. How does he prevent that from happening? What was your impression that you got from him on that subject?
Yeah. I mean, I think it's just about learning, right? So whether it's in minicamp and training camp, that he knows he's going to make mistakes, whether it's an interception or a wrong read, or if he's taking a quiz in the film room. So I think it's just about accepting that, even if it's like a mini failure, but getting better. And I think that's something that Brady probably instills in him. Again, I know Brady's not his coach or offensive coordinator or anything like that. He has Kubiak and his whole offensive staff, but it does seem like they're really leaning on Tom's expertise, at least in the off season, and maybe it'll be a little bit less once the season gets underway.
And I know Kirk Cousins isn't his coach, and he's not asked to be his coach or even his mentor, but how much do you think he can learn and he'll be able to learn just from watching and osmosis when it comes to seeing that veteran in front of him?
Oh, I think a lot. I mean, Kirk has obviously been super resilient throughout his NFL career and clearly wants to keep playing, and he knows what the situation there is in Las Vegas. But the Raiders are paying him a lot of money this year, right? $20 million guaranteed. So I think they expect big things from him, whether that's on the field or teaching Fernando if it comes to that. But I think that he's a great veteran to learn from, and I think he's shown he's not going to stiff the kid. He's going to be willing to teach him because he kind of knows what his job is. And hey, if he can keep the number one pick off the field, then more power to him.
Well, David, we'll close out with this. Really good stuff. What was your overall impression when you walked away from that conversation with Fernando Mendoza? What did you think going into the interview? What did you think coming out of it?
Yeah, I was excited to talk to him and kind of, see if I could get him to open up a little bit. And I think I was successful in some ways. Like I said, I think he likes to talk about a little bit, even more than football. But my impression is, he's a really bright, clear number one pick. He's already a pro's pro. I'm sure he'll get even more polished, but already saying the right things. And that's what you want from your quarterback, right? Kind of built for the spotlight, able to get through stuff like that with no problem.
No doubt about it. David Rumsey, Front Office Sports. What are you working on, my man, that we should be on the lookout for?
Yeah, so I cover football, college football for Front Office Sports, as well as golf. So I'm actually at the U.S. Open this week, but NFL, college football season will be here right around the corner as well. So we'll have it all covered on Business of Sports for you guys.
No doubt. Well, we'll be paying attention like we always are. Really good stuff for Fernando, and thanks so much for taking some time this afternoon. We definitely appreciate you, my man.
Thank you, guys. Take care.
All right, you do the same. David Rumsey right there, Front Office Sports. Just wanted to make sure that, we got a couple good minutes in with him, and thought there was some good feedback on Fernando Mendoza. And this is all what we're doing. It's all a learning process about the number one overall pick and the young quarterback that many believe are going to help the Raiders get to the promised land, as we've been talking about throughout the course of the show today, what it would be like and what it would mean for them to get back to, the winner's circle, get back to hoisting that Lombardi, get that fourth one in the history of the organization. And how would you feel? How would your family feel? And just kind of what does it all mean to you? That's the question that we've been asking at 702-365-9200. Hot Sauce Raider hit us up on the text line and said, "What's up, Q? When Fernando brings the Lombardi back home to the nation, you'll find me posted up on the bridge from New York to the MGM. I'll be yelling, crying, and hugging on everybody that goes by and buying drinks while throwing silver and black confetti on the strip as the parade goes by. Can't wait. Go Raiders. Now that's really deep diving into it. My man had the play-by-play. He said, you're going to find me on the bridge of New York, to the MGM. I'm going to be yelling, crying, and hugging. All right, and it's funny when you say that. All I could think about is crossing the bridge from the Oakland Coliseum to the BART station and how the bridge at times would even sway a little bit, right? We'd be on that bridge. You're like, man, is this good? We're good. This thing is swaying a little bit. But that's how exciting it was when there was, so many fans on there, and especially coming off of victory and everyone yelling Raiders and everyone, elbow to elbow and everything. And it was just it was just a vibe. Even leaving out of the Coliseum, headed to the bridge, it was one of those things. I remember Kimani and Lil Q, looking at me, and there was a chant going. It was right after the Raiders had beat the Eagles, and everyone was chanting, Philly sucks, or Eagles suck. I think it was Eagles suck. And Lil Q looked at me and was like, Dad, can we? And I was like, can you? Hell yeah. Hell yeah, you can. Absolutely. What kind of dad would I be if I didn't have you in that kind of a conversation? Absolutely. They thought that they were saying something, right? I guess they thought that they were cussing legally in front of me and getting away with it, right? It was so funny just to see that excitement and that energy and from everybody, young, old, everyone. Men, women, didn't matter. Everyone just all sharing that same feeling. When Hot Sauce Raider saying that he's going to be on the bridge from New York to the MGM, yelling, crying, and hugging, that's all I could think about. Is all those many times that I walked across that bridge on my way to the BART station, and Raider Nation was celebrating. And then, of course, you had the guy with the bootleg T-shirts out there, and you had the guys with the grill and the hot dogs and everything. I mean, I could literally smell the hot dogs and the bootleg T-shirts out there on the bridge, selling those, and all the little stands when you get into the BART station. You got the little hot dog stand with a little bag of chips. You need some Fritos or something. They got that covered. Like, everything was right there. And man, that was a party. And sometimes I didn't even take the BART. I just parked in the parking lot right there, or a little bit further behind the parking lot. And there was like a couple different dirt fields that we'd park in. And I know they ended up building it all up into either apartments or condos. And I'm sure that area behind the Coliseum now is incredible. But at some point, man, I used to even park my car back there and take my chances. I remember I went to one game and someone's like, "You're gonna put your car back there?" I was like, "Yeah, I got 65,000 Raider fans that got my back. I ain't worried about my car. I'm good. It ain't going nowhere." So I was straight. I was like, "Man, you see this neighborhood? We all Raider fans, man. We good, man. We ain't got nothing to worry about that." So that's how confident you were at certain stages of the game, man. It was always really good time. David and San Leandro hit us on the text line and said, "I don't smoke weed, but caught so many contacts high crossing that bridge. Raiders." David and San Leandro. Yeah, there's no doubt. If you didn't catch contact high from weed, you got contact from something. You were going to get a contact of something. I guarantee you that. There is no doubt, man. That was one of those inevitables, right? But that was a celebration. And even going to the game, to be honest with you, going to the game, you start to cross over that bridge and you start to see all the smoke coming from the parking lot, from the grills, and you start to smell the food. You hear the music. I don't know why, and maybe it's just selective hearing on my part, but every time I crossed that bridge, I felt like MC Hammer was the first, artist that I would hear. Always playing the music, there was so much music playing, but it seemed like MC Hammer always stood out to me. Like that was the first artist that I heard. Oaktown. You know what I mean? Like, I always felt like that was, and maybe, like I said, it could have been selective hearing. I've been known to have that. Ask the wife. She's told me. Right? Everyone will tell you got selective hearing. That's fine. All right, I'll own that. But, man, I swear that would always be the vibe. And as soon as you come over the bridge and you could tell, oh, yeah, it's about to go down. It's about to be a vibe. Even if it was a game that you didn't think was going to be, a good outcome for you. Once you crossed that bridge and got to go into that parking lot, you just knew it was about to go down. You walked by and you didn't have to know anybody. And I mean nobody. You didn't know nobody, but you knew everybody at the same time. It was definitely a fantastic trip. 702-365-9200. Keep that feedback coming. Jason said, Q, Ari, great job today. Did Pete Carroll ruin the term compete? Asking for a friend. That's actually a good question. It's funny you say that. I actually think of that every time I hear competition. Or I hear, these guys are going to go compete for the job, or there's going to be, some competition here. I literally do think of Pete Carroll saying that. And I hate that it was so bad for Pete, and the record ended up being so bad, them only winning 3 games, and clearly there was a big disconnect. Because I do truly believe that he thought he was going to walk into a situation and win 10 games, like he said. I think he really, truly believed that that's what he was going to do. And he really thought that he had the players in place to do that, when clearly he didn't, and clearly he didn't have the quarterback. He made some bad decisions on some hires, obviously. Some were his hires, some weren't. Chip Kelly wasn't his hire. Brendan Carroll was. I just hate that for him, because that he's got a hell of a resume. He's got a Super Bowl. He's got a national title. He's going to end up in Canton one day just for what he's been able to do. And it just stinks that his 1 year stop with the Raiders was awful. But now it did lead to the Raiders getting Fernando Mendoza. So you can look at the bright side and say, okay, that's something. But yeah, it stinks that it was just so bad. And everyone couldn't wait to get Pete Carroll out of town. And now, you got a much younger coach in Clint Kubiak, a guy that many people believe is going to be around for a long time. I believe he's going to be around for a long time. The good thing is that the Raiders don't have to worry about him making the offense really good and all of a sudden another team coming and poaching him away, because he's the head coach, not the offensive coordinator. That's something that a lot of Raider fans wanted to make sure happened. Didn't want that situation to occur. So they have that chance now. So he really has a chance to plant his flag here in Vegas with the Raiders and be there for a long time. He really does. And that would be such a blessing to have that. Like, I want to come on the radio, Lord willing, and say, hey, man, the Raiders and Clint Kubiak just agreed to a contract extension. Like, I want to be able to do that. I haven't had to talk about a contract extension for a Raiders coach in many, many moons. The last Raiders coach that got a contract extension was Jack Del Rio. I mean, think about that. Think how many moons ago that was. And even then, I kind of thought that was a little too quick. When he got that contract extension, it was right after the 2016 season. Obviously, they had a hell of a season. I was like, I don't know. It seems like it's a little early. And then he only lasted one more season. He was out of there. Right? And then we all know how it all played out from there. Then you went from Gruden, and we know how – and Gruden would have been there. He'd be there right now if nothing had ever happened. Right? We believe he would have been there right now. And then you had McDaniels. Obviously, that didn't work. He never got no extension. AP sure never got no extension. And Pete Carroll was one and done. So Clint Kubiak is in a position right now where if he builds this thing correctly and John Spytek builds this thing correctly, there'll be a time when we come on this show and say, hey, man, John Spytek just got an extension. Clint Kubiak just got an extension. Now they're tied in with the Raiders for another handful of years. Like Sean Payton just got a 5-year extension in Denver. I would die to be – no, I wouldn't die. I don't want to say that. I would love to come on the radio and talk about a 5-year extension for both the GM and the head coach, similar to what we see, with Kyle Shanahan and John Lynch in San Francisco. Them all tied together at the same time. And I know that John Spytek has 1 year less on his deal than Clint Kubiak because he got here a year before, but it would be great. That means that the team is successful. That means that they're going in the right direction. That means that this team is building and everyone's happy. This means that they're competing, they're winning, and maybe even by that time, maybe they do have a Lombardi they've already hoisted. Like, how great would that be? Those are all things that you have to look forward to. And again, they've got to do the work. They've got to put in the heavy lifting. They've got to make that happen. There's nothing I can say. There's nothing Ari can say. There's nothing you can say that's going to get them there sooner rather than later. It's all about the work that they put in, and they know that. They're no dummies. 702-365-9200. Jason in Baltimore hit us back. He said, I also want to say about Coach Mike Brown. He's talking about the Knicks. He always thought he was a good coach. Who else had Sacramento looking like they could beat the Warriors for 2 straight years, I believe. It's ironic that he got fired by Sacramento because he and Fox didn't get along, and I'd say Fox is who got exposed most by the Spurs by that New York defense, and defense is Mike Brown's calling card. It always has been. Yeah, that's a good point. I thought, and I'll be 100% honest with you and transparent, I thought Mike Brown was a really good assistant coach. Like you said, defense is his calling card. That's where I've always thought he was. I thought he was a really good assistant coach. I didn't think he was the greatest head coach. I know that when he was in Cleveland with LeBron and them, things didn't go necessarily exactly how he wanted it to. And I know that him and LeBron don't necessarily see eye to eye the way that, you know, a lot of head coaches would like to see eye to eye with LeBron. But LeBron's a different dude, right? So he got them to the finals. They got swept. When he was the Lakers head coach, it didn't work out too well there for him. But he did do well in Sacramento, you're right. And it was kind of surprising when Sacramento moved on from him. But, again, going to New York and replacing Tibbs, and I thought Tibbs did a good job last year, I thought, I don't know if this is going to be the guy for the job. And on top of that, if he doesn't win, what's going to happen? And, look, in the Atlanta series, when Atlanta had won a couple games and pushed them, I thought, oh, man, the conversation was Mike Brown could be one and done. And then all of a sudden he started hitting the right button, started listening to his team, something that Tibbs refused to do, made some adjustments, something that Tibbs refused to do, and he got on a roll. And once he started rolling, man, he didn't stop. Now he's on late-night television talking about who let the dogs out, and he's wearing the Terror Squad, Fat Joe's chain around his neck. I mean, he's living his best life in New York. Like I say, Rich Bisaccia is going to eat free in Vegas. Mike Brown will never buy another meal in New York. Never. Mike Brown could walk out into the middle of the street and say, I'm Mike Brown. King Kong ain't got nothing on me. And someone would say, yeah, you're right. You're right. Matter of fact, why are you standing there? Let's go ahead and get you in the car. A car would roll up to him. Right? And that's what happens when you win a championship, say in New York. You're going to get all that kind of love. All those dudes that won that championship, brought the first championship to the team in 53 years, those dudes are like kings in that city. Could you imagine if Max Crosby, Brock Bowers, Asher Genty, Fernando Mendoza, Clint Kubiak, all these guys bring a championship to the Silver and Black, Tyler Linderbaum, Colton Miller, all these guys? Do you imagine how they'll be treated since it's been such a drought for the Raiders? It would be pretty sticking close. It would be pretty sticking close to the way that it is in New York with the Knicks right now. The Knicks might not have to ever win another game, man. Their fans are so fired up. Like I said, it's orange and blue skies, something that they thought was never going to happen. And it would be silver and black skies if the Raiders are able to hoist their fourth Lombardi sooner rather than later. What else do we get here? 702-365-9200. Leo from the IE, my guy, said, Q would mean validation. When we win it all, it's validated my fandom to my family. My time spent on trips to Vegas, away games, my YouTube, everything. That's Leo in the IE. That's a good point. That's kind of what I was saying when it comes to confirmation. Validation is probably a better word. Leo, you're pretty good at this. Yeah, validation. I like it. Do you feel like everything that you did and everything you put into it wasn't for nothing? It takes a strong to survive, right? Isn't that what they say? Rome wasn't built overnight. Well, Rome has been working on building for a long time. And to see that job completed, that would be exactly what Leo said. It'd be validation. I like it. What else do we get? Man, we got a bunch of texts. Mike from Rochester said, what up, Q? I've groomed my 11-year-old daughter to be a Raider fan. It'd be awesome for us to win again. Now she's getting older. She doesn't like wearing her Crosby jersey to school because the kids laugh at her and she asks me all the time, Daddy, were the Raiders ever good? I tell her, yes, they'll be good again. I've been saying this is the year, drinking that Raider flavored Kool-Aid. Ha. It'd be great for her to wear that jersey proud and knowing she was a fan before they were good. Yeah, tell her to keep wearing that jersey. Tell her don't worry about it. Kids are just jealous. They don't talk about nobody who stinks, right? No one ever talks about a loser. But again, there's a team that won 3 games, so just tell her to keep on keeping on. Keep drinking that Raider flavor Kool-Aid, man. You got this. You got this. She's got this. And it will, like Leo said, validate her. Once it happens, she'll be able to go to school and be like, now what? And honestly, you're in New York. I don't know who the kids at school are fans of. It better not be the Jets because they stink, right? And they don't look like, outside of having a lot of draft capital, they don't look like they're really going in no great direction right now. And I know the Giants got John Harbaugh. I get that. And I know that they believe they have their quarterback. But they ain't done nothing in quite a while either. It's been a pretty long drought for them. So I don't know who they're fans of. Maybe they're fans of the Bills. But they ain't really got a whole lot of room to talk trash to your daughter. Because I don't know about you, but the Raiders, the Giants, and the Jets have all won the same amount of championships in the last handful of years. 0. And I haven't seen those teams in the playoffs too often either. So there's that. Really good text, though. I do appreciate that. You got some winning on the way. Ari, what you got?
Oh, yes, I do. Hot off the presses, I have a pair of tickets to see Sugar Ray at the pool at Sahara, Las Vegas. I'm pretty excited about that, just the pool. It's the time. It is Saturday, June 20th. Coming up, it'll be tickets here that you can get. Nevada resident only. A pair of tickets right now with me, 702-365-9200.
There it is. Ari, remember the number, so now you can win. Caller number 9 is what he's looking for. We also will have to flush a performance. It's going to make you laugh. We're going to have to flush a potty mouth. We'll do that next and hear from you here on RaiderNation Radio 920.
It's time to flush it. Brought to you by Moonlight Plumbing.
Shout out to the fine folks at Moonlight Plumbing, moonlightplumbing.vegas. No job is too big, no job is too small. They treat every customer like they want to be treated. Translates into no hard selling, no pressure. Their technicians are all non-commission based, so you can rest assured their pricing is honest. It is fair. Residential leaky faucet repair, water heater replacement, commercial plumbing, whatever the case may be, they've got you covered. I always say go to the website. It's easier to check it out, moonlightplumbing.vegas. That's moonlightplumbing.vegas. We'll actually flush a potty mouth coming up in a hot minute. But let's go out to the phone lines real quick and talk to our guy that I know never has a potty mouth. That's our guy, Raider Mike. Raider Mike, welcome to the show. What's on your mind?
Oh, Q being facetious.
Very much so.
Ari's over. You're over there on the dump button, aren't you, Ari?
Of course.
I'm gonna be nice today, guys. No, anyway. Before I get to the program, don't go see Disclosure Day. I love Spielberg. He's a brilliant director. That was horrifying. I walked out of 2 movies in my life. Pink Cadillac, Clint Eastwood. You all know that beautiful movie, don't you? No, you don't, because it's horrifying. Anyway, I walked out. I'm like, I just paid $13 on my day off to do this. So I've warned the nation. Raider Nation, you'll walk out. Anyway, I love what you were describing. I mean, you're bringing me back, Q. Way back. You know, the smoke rolling into the stadium. Did you ever do that in L.A.?
I never went to the game in L.A. I've never been to a game in L.A.
I've done both. I've been in like 15 stadiums, but I've been mainly in Oakland and L.A. Dude, L.A. was it was terrifying to roll into L.A., but it was still the same vibe. It's just you had the gangbangers there. All wearing our gear because of Cube and NWA. And it was the most intimidating place ever. I'm surprised we didn't pull a ring out of LA. Well, we did in 82, 83.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Right when we got there. But the more, especially when that album dropped, NWA, 88, it was the Chicago Bears came in during a regular season game. I think it was 88, 89. And they just won their title. And it was a 6-3 game. We got some biker boys lighting up here. Sorry. Let me roll my window up. Anyway. No, check this out, dude. There's like a whole section of Bears fans. And they're getting up on their RVs and their vans. They're jumping around on top of their vehicles, screaming at us after a 6-3 victory. the Crips, the Bloods, the boys, you know, they just came in and just beat the crap out of everybody that was acting up after that beautiful 6-3 win. What a horrible game to go to, you know? 6-3.
It happens.
It did happen too. But anyway, I there's nothing like when the Raiders are kicking ass and you're going into Raider Nation because there's no color, there's no age, there's no creed, there's no nothing. We're there to be the nation.
Yeah.
So anyway, I love when you see the summer brings out your nostalgia. This is my favorite time of year. We just get to talk about the other stuff. So keep doing that, Q. I got a day off because I had to do some big work. I'll call you when I can. You know my situation. I'm in the middle of nowhere. But I will call when I can. Love the show, Q. Raiders, I'm out, bro. Peace.
There he goes. Raider Mike, definitely appreciate the call. And, yeah, it's always fun to look back and reminisce and think about, you know, the good days and what has all brought us here, where we're at right now. And that's the reality of it, and that's what this station is all about, RaiderNation Radio 920. You can't fake it. It's just that simple. You can't fake it. You either got it or you don't. And I don't mean you got it like you're good at radio. I mean you're just you either have the knowledge, experience, the roots, or you don't. And if you don't have the roots, just like they say in the locker room, if the coach is not authentic, it's going to get sniffed out. That's the reality of it. If you're not authentic, it's going to get sniffed out. I actually had someone that I respect the hell out of, Justin Craig. He's very high up on ESPN radio, like the vice president. I mean, he's really high up, and I was on the phone with him, and he said he always gives me. It's funny, Ari, and you'll appreciate this. How we have all these sayings on the window there in the studio. I literally learned to start writing on the wall from him.
Nice.
At his office in Bristol, I looked up on the wall, and I sat there, and I said, man, you got all this writing on the wall. He's like, yeah, sometimes I just need to remind myself, or I need others to come in here and see what I'm writing on the wall. And that's why we actually started doing that in the studio, because, again, sometimes you just sit there and read something, it makes your mind click. But he always knows that I like cool sayings or whatever, and so he's like, hey, Q, I got something for you today. And I was like, oh, okay, cool. So I was on the phone with him, and he said, it's hat. And I said, huh? He said, hat. I go, what the hell does that mean? He said, humanity, authenticity, and trust. Ooh. That's how you build your audience. You've got to have a level of humanity. You've got to have authenticity, and they've got to be able to trust you. And if you don't wear that hat, you will not win. And you will not be a guy or a young lady that your audience can appreciate.
That is great. If you're listening and you want to do anything relative to radio hosting, that is great advice, I think.
I thought it was perfect.
Yeah, it is.
And as soon as he said it, I said, hold on, man, let me write that down. Let me write that down. So trust and believe, that's going to go on the window. And you can put it on the window after as you want to. Humanity, authenticity, and trust. You don't have that, you ain't got ish. Speaking of ish, we got to flush some ish. Brought to you by Moonlight Plumbing. You like how he put that together, right?
Really good, yes.
Hey, man, if that ain't authentic, I don't know what is, right? So nice. This flushing comes to you from the Queens Club tennis match. Yes, that's right. I'm taking it to the tennis court. Foul-mouthed Frenchman Corentin Moutet, he now faces a heavy ATP fine after turning their air blue at Queens Club in a shocking live BBC television interview. And the thing about this is the match, and this is kind of the preview to Wimbledon. So the interviewer is Jenny Drummond. She literally had to apologize to the viewers after Moutet said the F word, dropped the F-bomb 7 different times.
Whatever you do, you just put the ball in the court, and then he hates me, 142. I was like, fuck, I would have to serve, and I would have to.
No F-bombs, please. No. Right, Corentin, I'm going to ask you one more question. Apologies, everyone, for the language there. I'm going to ask you one more question, so please keep it clean, okay? You on the grass last week, unfortunately, didn't go your way. What's it like to get your first victory? Okay. Corentin, we need to improve that for the next round. Apologies, everyone. Corentin Moutet.
So, yeah, there you go. So that was the actual sound right there. And you definitely have to flush that. That's what you have. That's that potty mouth. You got to flush that. It was kind of funny, right? You heard the crowd laugh. You even heard the interviewer, Jenny Drummond, laugh a little bit. But at the same time, understand that not only was that live and loud for everyone that was there at the event, but also on TV. So he was being asked, and you heard what he said. His opponent had just saved a match point by hitting a ball 142 miles an hour. That was his second serve at 142 miles an hour. That's what brought on the first F. And then you hear what she said. She tried to clean it up. Oh, hey, no F-bombs. And then she asked him another question, right? It's like after he says F, she probably should have known that, okay, the interview is going to be over. At this point, Ari's not doing the dump button anymore. He's like, all right, this person's got to go. Right, Ari's not going to let that happen. And there was kids there, there was adults there. They did, like I said, they did get a laugh, but that's gonna cause a pretty big fine. So, it's so funny as I was listening to that. I was listening to it in the office earlier today, and our guy Dougie Doug was in the office with me. He's listening. It's like, what the world is that? And he was getting a good laugh out of it. But at some point, even he said, yeah, I don't think that she should ask him another question. I think this interview is already over, and that's when she said, well, she's going to get one more. And she got greedy, Ari. She got greedy. It's almost like when you're doing an interview and the phone's cutting out a little bit, and then all of a sudden it cleans up, and you're like, you know what? I think I can get one more question in. Yep. And then you realize, nah, that didn't work. That got a little greedy. So one more time, man, we'll have to hear. We got to hear that interview one more time. Again, he's responding to talking about his opponent saving the match point by serving the ball in his second serve. And anyone who knows anything about tennis, second serve, that's it. Right after that second serve, if you mess it up, that's a point going the other way. But he served it 142 miles an hour. Check it out.
Whatever you do, you just put the ball in the court, and then he hates me 142. I was like, I would have to serve, and I would have to.
No F-bombs, please. No. Right, Corentin, I'm going to ask you one more question. Apologies, everyone, for the language there. I'm going to ask you one more question, so please keep it clean, okay? You on the grass last week, unfortunately, didn't go your way. What's it like to get your first victory? Okay. Corentin, we need to improve that for the next round. Apologies, everyone. Corentin Moutet.
She said we got to improve that for the next round. Like he's going to change who he is. I mean, hey, look, man, the dude's got a bad boy style, so we definitely got to flush that. And I mentioned he's got a bad boy image. Chaos makes the muses. He actually wrote that on the camera screen there. It's a tattoo that he has. And, yeah, chaos is definitely what he can create. He later posted underneath the HSBC Championship heavily censored Instagram video of the interview, I was joking. I hope you guys didn't get offended. Thanks for the love. How funny is that? I was joking. My man he wasn't joking. He was antagonizing.
Right.
Like, I think I'm a menace walking around the building. Like, there's so many times that I just stir ish up in the building just because that's what I do. Like, sometimes I'll walk by the front desk and I'll move the calendar. I'll just move the calendar on the desk. And you see me do it. I just do it for no reason. There's no reason. It's like a kid that can't help himself. I just do it every once in a while. They're like, what was the point of that? I don't know. I just wanted to do it. It was fun.
But then you don't do it 8 times in a row.
Right,
exactly.
exactly.
Like, please stop. I'm begging you.
Yeah, don't say it. No F-bombs, please. F. Yeah. I mean, like, could you imagine that? Could you imagine someone coming on the radio and talking with us and we're like, hey, man, you got to keep it clean. And all of a sudden they just run out, bing, 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 bing.
I may have encountered that once back in the day with
no way.
Certain local.
Oh, was that Carrot Top?
It sure was.
I don't mind calling him out.
I like Carrot Top, actually. Great guy outside of that, but that was a tough one. Yeah, they were on the road. It was a great event. Everything was just
did he
lively.
do it on purpose? Did he do it on purpose?
I'm gonna say no, but it's like half.
Okay, well, that's
but hold on, but it's also like either you did it on purpose or you're you're that oblivious. I don't know. He's been on stage. He's been around for a while in the business, so I would think
there's certain athletes that I would not interview live.
Yeah.
Like Marshawn Lynch is one of them, right? Just saw him on Saturday, matter of fact, at the M Resort at the E40 concert. I wouldn't interview him live. I'd want that to be recorded because I know that he's going to drop an F-bomb or 12. Or he's going to say something that's going to – you're going to have to hit the dump button too many times. Anthony Edwards started being like that as well from the Minnesota Timberwolves. He drops F-bombs, he drops N-bombs, he drops all kind of different bombs, right? And it's like, come on, dude, you got to have some kind of understanding. Yeah. Max does it every once in a while, but Max always does it in the locker room when we're recording, and so it's never a big deal because he could say whatever, and it's like cool because I know I can go back and edit it. Every once in a while at the podium he'll say something, but normally he's pretty good about it at the podium. But man, Marshawn, he used to always. I mean, he would drop some stuff. I remember him at the podium live, and I'm like, yeah, that probably didn't go over too well. But that's just that. There's certain players. Luka, he falls into that category. He does that quite a bit, and then after he says it, it's one thing after you say it and it's live, just keep it pushing. But Luka will be the one to be like, oh, sorry, I apologize for my language. It's like, hey, dude, you already said it.
Yeah.
Don't go back now and try to clean it up. Oh, I didn't mean to say that. Yeah, okay.
Say what? Oh.
Exactly. So I had to have a little bit of fun with that. Obviously, what's her name? Jenny Drummond, the interviewer, would like to flush that potty mouth.
I don't know if it's 100% true, but I saw that the fine is supposedly going to be like $24,000. So even anything around that range, that's pretty nice. It's a nice fine there. So
yeah, it is.
Good job, buddy.
There's no doubt about that. So I definitely had to flush that potty mouth of Muti. Again, he's got that kind of he's got that bad boy type of image as well, and he moves on to the next round. And of course, that was brought to you by Moonlight Plumbing, moonlightplumbing.vegas. There's no problem that's too big or too small for Moonlight. They've got you covered. Military and first responder discounts are available, so you definitely appreciate that as well. And anything that you need, if you want to book something or check out and get more information about them, you could call them at 702-355-3938, or like I say, the easiest way to do it, moonlightplumbing.vegas. I don't know how you'd forget that, moonlightplumbing.vegas.
Flush It is brought to you by Moonlight Plumbing. Affordable, dependable plumbing professionals serving Las Vegas since 2016. We mean business. Now back to Unnecessary Roughness with your boy Q. Presented by Meineke, doing car care right.
Just got a few minutes left in today's show. Had a lot of fun. A lot of great feedback on the text line, the phone lines. Will said she messed up when she said no F-bombs. Hey, you're right. You just encouraged him to be more of a menace. We just flushed the potty mouth. We've just flushed a tennis player, a French tennis player, Corentin Muti, and all he said was F, like multiple times. And she was like, oh, you got to clean that up for the next round. But I could tell she did have a little bit of laugh in her voice as well. So she wasn't really that angry. It was more like, damn it, this is not going to go well. And, I know that we done messed up now. And Muti's definitely going to get a fine. Ari mentioned probably about $24,000 at least. Let's go out to the phone lines real quick. Make sure we get this in before we wrap up the show at 702-365-9200. This guy doesn't have a foul mouth. This is Money Mitch. Money Mitch, welcome to the show. What's on your mind?
Don't get me mad, then. Then I'll give it to you.
Hey, man, we'll flush you. Hey, Money Mitch, I will flush you.
Well, I'm not allowed, right? I don't have the same equal rights, right? Not for me. Not for the people on the East Coast, the best coast.
Yeah, right.
It's been a long time. It's 43 years for us. I think that's the last time they won a Super Bowl. That was my dad's next. He died the year after. Rest in peace. Cancer sucks.
Yes.
But you gotta say the Knicks. You gotta say they've tried harder. They've had quite a few Hall of Famers or near Hall of Famers, Larry Johnson, Patrick Ewing, Carmelo Anthony. And I read somebody says he was a cancer to the locker room. Come on.
He was.
There are plenty of teams that won championships, and they had some troublemakers on the team. I don't think it was a big trouble. They tried. They did try.
The Raiders have tried, too. Look how many players the Raiders have had on their roster. They got all the players they made moves for. They brought in as free agents. They've changed coaches. The Raiders have tried, too. It ain't like they ain't tried to win. They just ain't won.
Don't try. You do. That's a Seinfeld reference, all right, buddy? All right, but sometimes we get plays. I think we let go of plays. We get somebody, a running back or a defensive tackle like Mack and Josh Jacobs, and we let him go. We had it, and then we let him go. You're trying to play like blackjack, right? This is Vegas. You have 18, and you want to hit it more. You're taking a chance. Sometimes you get someone that's good enough. It's a team sport. I think we finally got the right quarterback. I don't know how you not get a good quarterback in all these years, a real good one. I'm saying I'm going out Fernando Mendoza. He's the real thing. Just like, as long as he doesn't get the injuries like Hal Miner or my boy DJ, the younger lady, and I did say it right. I heard that at the beginning. I'll talk to you later, Q.
All right, great timing, Money Mitch. You were about to run out of time. I was about to have to flush the call because you were going to run out of time, but you got out of there just on time. We'll be back tomorrow at the same time. You know how we do, 2 to 5 p.m. Unnecessary Roughness, RaiderNation Radio 920.